All right, everybody, welcome to the I Disagree podcast. You know, I can honestly say the reason why we've named it I Disagree is because it's two words I believe that have not only changed my life, but we all wouldn't be sitting here if we didn't say I disagree. So here's basically what we stand for. In the past 3 years, there has been more disagreements, controversies, opinions, ideas, failed expectations, character reveals, surprises, disappointments, lies, beliefs, assumptions, and bullshit than ever before. Here we go. You guys ready for the first one?
Ooh, that's good. That's good. That's good. Good evening, everybody. This is Travis. Welcome to the I Disagree podcast. We're happy to have you here on this wonderful Tuesday evening. We just want to welcome everybody online. Please feel free to subscribe and check us out and stay for the whole duration. We're excited to have you here. If you want to be on the I Disagree podcast, please feel free to reach out to us. Our lovely Erin Walton is our handler of that whole situation over there. Yes, I said it correctly, so we're good. Also, we want to welcome our guests here. We got 4 amazing guests. We're so blessed to have you guys here today. Let's just get right into it. Let's just get into it. You know what I mean? So we'll start here on the very left. Let's do a brief introduction. Give us your name, potentially your age, where you from,
age,
all the good things.
Don't lie either.
Kevin Burkle from Green Bay, born and raised. Been a business owner here for 36, 38 years, somewhere in there. It's been so long. I've had a lot of bars and restaurants. Currently own Burkle's one block over behind Stadium View across the street from Badger State Brewery. And just chugging along.
That's awesome. A business owner. That's good.
Yeah.
Glad to have you on here.
It's good.
Now, did you say Calvin or Kevin?
Kevin.
Okay.
Kevin.
Okay, making
Yeah,
sure. I
if
wrote
the
down
Pack-
right.
you know,
Okay, just making sure.
As long as the Packers keep winning, we'll be in good shape.
That's right. That's right. Pull one off. That's awesome. All right.
I'm Alex Hardinger. I live in Wausau. I'm 38 years old. I have 2 boys. They're 11 and 6. I own a natural health practice in Wausau. I've been doing that for about 10 years, and I just recently launched a mindset coaching group program, which is called Soul Set Rising, and our website's under construction, but you can find it on Facebook at a group called Soul Set Rising Mindset and Lifestyle. It's definitely where my heart and my passion is right now, and it's really awesome. So hopefully a lot of my tools from there will help contribute to this conversation.
I am looking forward to it. That's
yes.
awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. All right, this next guy, I got to just... gotta get it ready here. Okay. You may.
Yeah.
Did you get music as your
I don't know about that.
He should have music. That's a good idea. Next time.
I probably should.
Like, I can beatbox.
We could bust it. We could get it going.
I know you can.
You know what I'm saying? We can get it going.
Get it.
All right, so I am Lorenzo Tomas from Random Radio. That is Random Things You Need to Know on YouTube and Random Radio. And, I just realized recently that the name on Facebook is Leonard Mason. Shout out to, Big Greed. That's who, so Facebook at one point in time would not let me name my Facebook page Random Radio, right? Somebody got mad at me and said he's a scammer. So I didn't want to put my ID up. They said you need an ID, we need your name and ID. I was like, I'm not doing that. So shout out to Big Greed for letting me use his name and his ID
Yes, we thank you.
to call the page Leonard Mason. So thank you, Leonard Mason. I should have probably used his real name, but not. I probably should have. Either way. But I'm at Random Radio, Random Things You Need to Know. We had some episodes out last week. Ever since I've been on the Disagree podcast, and Dr. Flynn has not been here, my views have gone down, so I blame him. So I don't know what's going on with that, but
He's watching right now.
He must be doing this to me. So wherever you are, I'm gonna find you, and I'm gonna take care of that. But no, thank you all for having me, and I appreciate it.
And before I go to this side of the table, I should probably introduce myself. Travis Frisk. I am the co-host. I should probably, disclaimer, Dr. Patrick is not here. He is enjoying himself somewhere where it's sunny and a beach and all the things and enjoying his life, and which he should be, because that's the life he created. But we'll get into that.
another day, and that is not
This
one
is
of our
my
things
right
for
hand
today,
lady
just
here.
so you
I got
know.
my wife here, my co-host here with me. I'm so blessed. This is awesome. Let's go.
My name's Dana. I'm 34. I'm married. I have 2 boys that are 6 and 8 years old. I actually went to school to be an accountant. I was a CPA for 10 years, and I worked on taxes and then decided that definitely was not for me. And given my passion for natural health, I switched over and did clinical nutrition. Alex, who you just met, was actually the person who has trained me for all of these years. And as you all heard, she's doing a mindset coaching program, and I can also vouch that you should all definitely go join that and learn some things, and let's turn this whole world around. But anyway, I got rid of the CPA thing. I did the natural health thing. I'm doing the natural health thing now, and I also, obviously, I help co-host this podcast every week, and I also make content geared toward men for like dating and relationship and romance advice. And I also just like to support alpha males and the patriarchy, and that can be found at Dana Disagrees on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
Outstanding. Now, this
Yeah.
next beautiful brunettes over here is one I brag about every single Tuesday night. So, without further ado,
I am Sarah Frisk, and yes, I am married to this gentleman here. We have 2 children, 19 daughter who is engaged, and a 13-year-old son. And I work here, and I love my job. And yeah, that's about it.
and she has many opinions. I look forward to her using them tonight.
Hi, my name's Dave. I'm
Dave.
40 years old, married. I have 4 kids, a 16-year-old stepdaughter, 14-year-old daughter, 3-year-old daughter, and almost 1-year-old son. There's a lot of chaos in our house, a lot of toys everywhere, so that's a lot of fun. I'm a personal trainer. I own my own business called Everyday Fitness 101. I do virtual and in-person coaching that way. And I'm really looking forward to a week and a half going up north and chasing the 30-point bucks. So
Yeah.
got a little buck fever going on, getting the rifle sighted in this weekend. So
I'd rather watch paint dry.
it's very peaceful out there.
It is, and
very
I know.
peaceful.
I know.
I'm just razzing you.
that's good. We encourage razzing here, and sunglasses. So. That's awesome. You know, my favorite thing about hunting is obviously getting the kill, but I love it when I have a stand. We call it the city stand because I'm probably the most city of all the country guys up there. Anyways, I sit up there and there's a huge farm field, and you watch that snow come in and you watch the trails. It's like guy with a paintbrush. It's beautiful out there. So yeah, it's not just about the hunt. There is some good REM sleep. I mean, good focus timing out there. And
Yeah, there's never any sleeping out in the tree stand at all. So.
ever.
So
I never made it to the tree stand personally.
That's awesome.
that's deer camp for you right there. So.
So, all right. So let's get into it. This is the scripted part where I got to try to do my best to read. So the podcast started with the words, "I disagree," because Dr. Patrick Flynn has always gone against the grain his entire career. It's true. We were actually at his I Disagree event. It was pretty nice. And we want to continue that on an even bigger platform and bring others in to discuss topics and see what they think. We love having discussions that push boundaries and challenge people, and I love to say out loud the things I know everyone is thinking, and I will definitely second that. I know you will third that. So,
Yes, I will.
all right. So one day early on, Patrick and I were together thinking about this podcast. That was your story. Okay,
was
I'm going to
my
skip
story.
right over that. That's okay.
You're
That's
like,
my
I
first
just
mistake
sent him
number
my
one.
script to what I said.
Okay, so here, I meant to read this one because I remember skipped that one, but of course I did it under pressure, so it is what it is. So here, this is the main statement. In the past 3 years, there have been more disagreements, controversies, opinions, ideas, failed expectations, character reveals, surprises, disappointments, lies, beliefs, assumptions, and bullshit than ever before. All right, so what is this? Okay, I don't know, but here's the deal.
The purpose of the podcast is to correlate with the Saturday morning show called A Different Perspective on topics related to men and women, health, politics, religion, and
What
money.
she
Thank
said.
you.
Okay. Well, she's got the voice for it, so it's all good. This is why we team
got
up.
you.
All right. So here's the deal. We're going to go around and we're gonna do a statement. Okay. We're gonna start with this handsome young man here, and we'll go around the room. Okay. And we'll agree or disagree. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, before we get into that, I want to just have a little disclaimer. We don't live on this show doing exceptions. We talk about rules. Okay. The most common example that we use, and every Tuesday we use this one, it's abortion. Now, over 99% of abortions is for birth control. But what about that 1% or less than 1% of incest, rape, the health of the mother. I get those, but we're talking about the rules today. So when we find you kind of sneaking towards when you're going with your feelers and you're thinking towards, the exceptions, we're going to go, wink, wink, wink. We're going to stop you. We're going to just go, hey, pump the brakes. You're not wrong, but that's not what this show is about. This show is about talking about the rules. Because if we did everything in this nation like we are right now based on exceptions, we're going up shit creek without a paddle. Would you agree with that? Mm-hmm. So let's stick to the rules tonight, and we'll do our best to navigate the exceptions after, okay? So the first question of the night. Look at me multitasking. Wow, this is insane. All right. You ready? Starting here. Energies, chakras, universe, and vibes are just another bullshit fad. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Disagree?
Agree.
For the first time ever, I disagree.
Agree.
I agree.
Okay.
Obviously,
This is gonna be real fun.
like, we didn't know this already.
All right. So, Mr. Kevin, can you dive into your answer of I agree?
At your mic, go. Up at your mic. There you
Do
go.
you want my
There you go.
sunglasses? You good?
No, I'm good. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of controversy there, So I don't really know right off the top of my head what to say on it, but other than I don't know.
And that, sometimes we just don't know the answer. So until we're swayed one way or the other, it doesn't, it's okay. It's okay to slow to speak.
Right.
So
Wait, no, she goes last. Trust me.
Oh.
Trust me.
Fair,
I'm gonna
fair.
take over
That's
that.
I was
So-
going to actually say,
Like, no,
I
she
would
needs
love
to
to
go
be
last.
challenged along the way when
So-
I do
Because the
talk.
thing,
so Alex
Yeah.
will go last. Then
Yeah.
we'll just skip over to Lorenzo here. Okay.
Well, I'm going to say this. I saw you two doing a little eye coaching here, and I didn't like that. So I didn't like that. There was some eye coaching, eye language going on.
we should have worn our sunglasses.
Yeah, you should have worn your sunglasses. That's exactly what you should have did. So, the reason why I say that I agree with that is because I don't think that people know what any of those words really mean, right? So they don't know what a chakra is. They don't, like, for instance, one of the best things, I love this. This is something that women always do. I love it. It's fantastic. I challenge them on this every time I would hear this. A woman would get mad at me and then say, you're gonna have some bad karma, as if karma is a curse. Karma is not a curse. It is a philosophy about the balance of life. So it has nothing to do with telling someone that you're gonna get bad karma. And I used to say to them, how do you know that this isn't bad karma for you, for something that you've done to someone else? You ever thought about that? And then they would say, fuck you, you're an asshole, Lorenzo. And I'm like, well, how do you know that my asshole nature is not a curse of karma, bad karma for you, from an asshole who you were to someone else? You're just getting it back to you. And so it just shows how people don't know what karma is. They don't know what chakras are. They don't know what energy is. Some people think energy is God, right? So they equate religion with this idea of energy. Some people think that they don't know. So what they're trying to do, what I notice, is that people are trying to equate religion with these ideas. And these ideas have something else to do with energy and how you balance your life through doing negative and positive. But that's not what people see. So that's why I say I agree with the statement, because I don't think that people know exactly what these things mean. They're just saying them, and then you got all these fads, and then you got TikTok women telling people what to do, and so you got women on YouTube telling people what to do. So that's why I agree.
Double D, what's up?
Hey. All right, so I disagreed. And so I'll start with, I definitely agree with what you say, though, that people don't always know what these words mean. We actually talk all the time about how everything is just a vocabulary lesson. Mm-hmm. But on both sides of the coin, probably people don't know what these mean, because you're probably talking a little bit more toward the people who are just saying that they're into energy and vibe and stuff like that. They don't actually know what they're talking about. But on the flip side of that, there are a lot of people who vilify the energy and the vibe thing that they don't know what they're talking about either. So we all need to kind of come together and see, well, what do these words mean and how do we define them and what are we actually talking about? But the big thing I disagree with in the statement, and I'm largely going to talk about the energy and vibe thing, and if I actually remember, I'll come back to the chakras and the universe thing. But I disagree with it being a fad, because a fad implies that something is short-lived. And the reality is that everything is energy and vibration. That's what everything is made out of, and that's how everything has always been. Arguably in the last, I don't know, let's call it 100 years, we've kind of gotten away from more of that thinking, and now it's starting to come back a little bit, and people are starting to figure it out again. But that doesn't make right now a fad. The fad is probably the last 100 years where we kind of got away from understanding what was really going on in our lives. I kind of equate it a little bit to like the idea of home birth. Okay, home birth, that's just how life was till about 100 years ago. And then we started going to hospitals. And now today, a lot of women are starting to birth at home again, but it's getting called a fad. I've heard people refer to home birth today as a fad, but is it? Because that's actually just how we lived for forever. Hospital birth is a fad, and a fad I hope, goes away pretty fast. But to say that the energy and the vibration thing is a fad, I don't think is right, because that's just how we have always lived, and that's what's at the core of everything. At the core of everything is energy and vibration. And Doc actually teaches his docs about this, because if you look at, say, the human body, we're all made up of a bunch of cells, right? And what's inside the cell? There's a nucleus, and inside the nucleus, there are protons, neutrons, and electrons. And then inside of those, what's inside of those? It's quarks. And what are quarks? Quarks are energy. Everything is made of energy, and energy is everything. And that is the reality, whether you want to believe that or not, or whether you accept that or not. 2 + 2 is 4, and this is what we're dealing with. I think just a lot of people maybe don't understand that. Nope, you can't talk yet. I think a lot of people maybe don't understand that reality of how we have been created. I think a lot of people are, and I want to be clear too that that's okay, that not everybody understands energy. Not everybody's going to, just like how not everybody's going to understand the immune system. Not everybody is going to be a history buff, right? We all have different gifts and different talents for what we can understand. And so not everybody's going to get it, but to say that you think it's wrong or that you don't accept it or that it's just this new age thing is on the Christian side of things, because that's what you hear from a lot of the Christian side of things, is that's just new age energy and like that's just a new age thing. And I don't totally agree with that, because again, it comes down to vocabulary and what are you talking about and how are you using this. So
yeah, that's a good word.
And so everything is made of energy, and well, who made us? Who created us? And who could have possibly made such a beautiful, intricate, complex design as that we as humans can't even understand? So like that only came from one place, and that came from God. So to deny that energy and vibration is real and that's what we're all made of, you're actually really just insulting God's design of all of us. And I don't think that he probably likes that, or that we should probably be doing that. So that's just kind of the new age piece of it that I wanted to be able to address. And we also hope to just have everybody keep an open mind tonight too, because we know that there are plenty of people of faith who are watching who probably don't know how to handle all of this, or probably who have been told that, well, that's just new age and it's bad and you stay away from it. And we're kind of here to bridge some gaps of, well, what does this really look like? Because we're also very aware that you can quickly and easily become very ungrounded in things like this. We work to keep ourselves very, very grounded in what we do. And there are people who are very ungrounded in it. When we practice, we do not claim to be God. And when I say practice, I mean practice like our natural health practices, like practicing with clients. We do not claim to be God. We do not claim to be him. We do not claim to be the ones performing miracles. We do not claim to predict the future, although sometimes it looks like that, but that's just because we're very good at our jobs. But we are not playing God within this. We are not claiming to be him. And I think some of the ungroundedness, right? It goes back to Genesis 3, and it goes back to the serpent in the garden telling Adam and Eve that they can be like God if, they eat the fruit. And then they did, and they believed that. That was ungrounded. We aren't God. We can't do that. We are not in ultimate control of everything that's going on. And we definitely want to be able to get that piece across to everybody who is watching out there, that we don't think that we have special powers or anything like that. We just think that God has gifted every single person with their unique talents and abilities, and we are using ours for good to help better people's health so that they can be freer inside of their lives. And with the control piece, I guess we'll end my little soliloquy here by saying that I also fully believe that I am in complete control of my life and my emotions and how I react and my relationships and my job and everything. I am in control of everything, and I am simultaneously in control of absolutely nothing.
10-4, Mrs. Frisk.
There you go.
Okay, so I had said that I agree with the statement because of the fact that it, based off of what Lorenzo said, most people don't understand what they're talking about. The other side of that is I am a Christian, and I do know that, and also being with the Wellness Way, I also know that there's energy. You need to be grounded. We are one with the planet. Get it. However, if we're looking at the rule is most people, when they're involved in the chakras and the energy and the whatever label they want to put on it, is a fad. Has it always been around? Yes. Witch doctors, witches. I mean, you name it, it's been around forever. Have people used it as a negative? Yep. Have people used it as a positive? Yep. But in general, overall, if we're looking at a rule, most people who are involved in that is they have their own agenda behind it, and that's what their motivation is, and therefore that is a fad because it doesn't last for most of the time for that individual person or group of people that are using it.
Okay. Muscles?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, Mr. Muscles.
Let me just bask in that for a couple of seconds here. I don't get my ego stroked very often.
Maybe flex
so
the pecs a little bit.
thank you. I asked Aaron to make sure you did that. So
That was
I
for
had
you.
To see that one time.
That was for you.
So.
The rest of you, my eyes are up here, okay? Next to my glasses. Continue.
So I took this a little different way. Maybe I just didn't quite understand what the question was getting at, but I kind of looked at it from an astrology standpoint a little bit, where so many people identify their personality, their characteristics by whatever sign they are, and they live by their horoscope. So that's why I kind of felt like I agreed with that statement, that I do feel like that part's a fad a little bit. People put too much stock into where the sun was when they were born or whatever astrology is. So that's why I agreed with that statement right there.
That's fine. No, I think that was that you don't have to go in depth. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's all good. Oh yeah, I've not forgotten about the cherry on top. All right, thank you. All right, so Alex, you are last but not least.
Well, and hopefully this just continues the conversation, because I have to completely disagree with what you said about who's using these tools, because I've been doing this for 10 years. And when I say this, I mean, we perform an energy test in our office using kinesiology. But to people who don't understand quantum physics, it looks like woo-woo, right? Mm-hmm. And now there's days where me and Dana might be like, woo, 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 woo. But I promise you in practice, we keep it to like 2 woos, right? Yeah. So, but to understand everything, to have these concepts. So I love what you said about bridging the gap, because a lot of the reason that I disagree and the reason that people agreed is, do people care about it? Because we can go about most of our life without having to be passionate about anything. I became passionate about the energy because I figured out how we could use it to communicate with the central nervous system of the body, essentially the innate intelligence. Mm-hmm. So when people say like they don't believe in energy or they don't believe in anything, it's the same thing that a chiropractor says. It's like, you don't have to believe in chiropractic for it to work. It's all just there. So when you can break it down though and bridge the gap, and here's how you do it. Albert Einstein said E equals mc squared. So what does that mean? Does anybody actually know what that means? Energy equals matter, mass times the speed of light squared. So when you have an equation, everything on sides of the equal sign are the exact same. So if you take the speed of light squared, take the c squared out for a second, you have energy and matter being exactly the same, but one being much faster than the other. So what does that mean? It means if you can energetically test the body, it's a prediction of matter. That's just quantum physics. That's like a 30-second version of, I mean, you can complicate it. You can complicate it all you want. But if you use these tools, and I will agree with you in the sense that there's a lot of really ungrounded people doing it. And so you hear about the people who are sitting in metaphysical stores and whatever. And I was in one in Sedona earlier this year, and they're like, oh, no cell phones in here. I'm like, God, I need to get out of this town. But I have an appreciation for all of it because I think that there are a lot of tools in there. And I think that I don't know a ton about religion. I have a strong faith, but I don't understand a lot about religion. So to me, I'm always like, okay, am I being a good Christian? Am I dipping my toes in waters where they shouldn't be? But I always just at the end of the day reconcile that with me and God, right? So, we're challenging some belief systems because of conditioning, and we've been conditioned out of knowing that our body can even have this. When we perform the first muscle test that we do on people, everyone across the board, their face is like, what? Because if you tell someone to lock a muscle in their body, any muscle, they think they should be able to do it. But if the nervous system is stressed out, it won't lock. And so now you can communicate with the nervous system of the body. It's the innate intelligence. So in chiropractic, the idea, and I'm not a chiropractor, but I'm probably the greatest salesperson for chiropractors. And I send all
Second
of my
best.
clients to them. Okay? So the idea is that the body wants to heal itself. And again, this is a God-given just thing that we innately have. And the only reason that it won't do it sometimes is that there is interference. So if you remove the interference, then the body will heal itself. And so what does that? It's the innate intelligence of the body. So what if you could communicate with that? And D.D. Palmer, the father of chiropractic, I hope I said that name right, and that was him, but he prophesized that there would be in the near future a way to communicate with the nervous system that would give you better diagnosis and faster treatment plans. And that's what it is when we're in practice. And I'm bringing this into relating it to what I do in practice just because what we do is based in quantum physics and not a linear science. So it's easy for me to have that conversation. But outside of that, when you talk about like the universe and vibes and everything else, everything does carry a vibration, so you can even muscle test for any emotion. So the same way that we could muscle test for a virus or a bacteria, and we don't label people with anything because it's all energy, you can muscle test for an emotion. How can you possibly do that? Because it's an idea, but it's on a frequency and a vibration. And so when you hear about like these kind of fruity things about like law of attraction, do you like how I just prefaced that? Yep. What does it mean? All it means is that, and this is what people like Einstein said, if you go to the vibration of something, it's impossible to not get it. And just in the sense of like, so sickness is a lower vibration than health. I think we can all kind of agree on that. And you can't get sick unless you meet the vibration of it. And why do you do that? Because you're stressed out in some way, shape, or form. So how do we use these tools of vibrations and say, okay, could we get a little weird and out there? Sure, but if we didn't do that in other areas, would we have made a whole bunch of cool discoveries? I don't know. There's a whole bunch of really, like, who's the first person that ate all the mushrooms? And then one guy is like, oh, this is great. And the other guy's like dead, right? Like somebody had to eat the mushrooms. Somebody had to figure all this stuff out. So, people like Dana and I, we learn about all this stuff and then we take some and we leave some. But I don't think it's a fad at all in the sense that the more I learn about it, the more I realize I don't know. And the more I realize how amazing and intricate God's creation is, really. And so when I look at the universe and how I bridge that gap, right or wrong, and I'm willing to be wrong, and Dana can attest to this, when I met with new information, I'll be the first person. I mean, I have a vaccine-injured son, which tells you a couple things. I'm anti-vax. And can I say that on YouTube?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Hell yeah.
Okay. I just don't want us to like go down. But it also means that I vaccinated my kid before I knew better. And when I was met with new information and even had to take responsibility for the fact that what happened to him was because of me, I do that. And I've done that over the years. And so now when we're met with new information, we learn new things. And so as I learn more about religion or how to be a good follower of Christ and how to also combine that with what I look at and how I look at things in my practice, I just look at it like all of these tools are in the universe. So when we say like the universe is always working out for us, it's God's universe, it's God's tools. And I think at the end of the day, it's like, who are we giving credit to? Yeah. If I say that I can do something with energy or have psychic powers or something like that, who's ultimately the credit? And I think that has a lot to do with where people shy away from the topic because there's a lot of fear around what that might mean if you did believe something like that. And I'm kind of past the point of the question now, but I feel like the energy chakras, like what would be so bad about chakras being a fad or not being a fad, or being real or not being real? It's like anything else. Like you can believe it, not believe in it. Someone discovered these energy emotional centers in the body that you can scientifically measure on people, which is interesting. So what if it exists on you and it just doesn't matter? Like, so to not care about these things, I think that's how I feel about football. Like I can live my whole life and like I don't even know when football season really is, other than I think it's going on right now. But that's how other people feel about this topic, right? So like this is my world. But bring me at a table where we're talking about football, I'll be like, I'm not gonna have a whole lot to contribute. But I would love to know what people's like questions are, or is it like a fad because you don't understand it, or because the people you've seen have gone too far off the deep end, and then, but is that still, it's all anecdotal, right?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's where it becomes the rule, but there's a difference between the rule and the exception. Most people who use it and talk about it is a fad.
Right.
Most people who, like yourselves,
Right.
are using it as a tool, and you don't go out there and be a big production about it and make a big deal and, you know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, with Christianity, there are so many people who chase after miracles rather than chasing after God and living it every day.
Well, you're
So
still
it's-
like
it's
talking
the
about
same
the
thing.
loudest, annoyingest people. Whereas
Yeah.
I would argue that we are the majority,
Really?
but most people aren't talking about it, for one thing, because they're afraid of what Christians will say to them. So the majority is that people are somewhat grounded in it and they're trying to learn it and they're starting to learn quantum physics. And everybody you can disagree with me all you want, but I know way more people who are interested at a responsible level
Yeah.
than the annoying ones out there in YouTube land drawing cards for, you know.
But that's the thing. You all know these people. You all know, the majority of people know people who don't understand this. It's just like I could go and talk to people about history all day. We could sit here and talk about British Israelism. Will you understand that?
No.
Right. So you are like the majority of people. But I can tell you, I know at least 16 people I could call up right now and they know about it. What does that mean? That's not the majority. The majority is these people are saying words. What they believe in is not religion. They don't believe in energy. They don't believe in that either. They believe in occult versions of religions. So they don't even know what they believe with their religion, let alone what you're talking about. Then they're going to apply the false information that they have about what you're talking about and apply it to their false information about their religion. And then now they got this contradiction with themselves. So I get what you're saying. You're talking about quantum physics. Man, if you don't get out of here, you know these people they watching Quantum Leap. They ain't doing no damn quantum physics. They ain't even thinking about that. So you know that that's not true with the majority of people ain't doing that.
No, not the majority of
people. The majority
Right,
of people
that's
who
what
are like
you're
practicing
saying.
and who get it.
And
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
this
but-
brings it back.
But
This
that's
brings it
what
back.
we're saying, because even with the majority of people, right? So though it's not the majority who are practicing it,
Yes.
and those are the ones who are also having a huge voice about this. So they're ignorant. They're ignorant.
So is
I'll
it fair
give
to
you
say that
They're
you're
ignorant.
kind of both getting slapped in the face by these knuckleheads who are just yapping? Like they're discounting your ability to get to the solution you're looking
Right.
for your patients.
Yeah, so I honestly think that we all agree more than we are disagreeing
Right.
at this
Yeah, no,
moment.
yeah.
Because
Well,
it's
yeah.
all a vocabulary.
I mean,
It's
yeah.
all just, when you break it down
Yeah.
and you're talking about like, okay, are we talking about the majority? Are we talking about it being a fad?
Right.
Is it a fad? No. Are people abusing it? Absolutely.
But there are bad chiropractors out there too. There are bad doctors. There are bad pastors. And that's not to say that the people who are maybe ungrounded are bad. I'm not trying to label them as that, but you're going to have people in every profession that make other people in culture just want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
But here's the thing. This is where it becomes a fad, because it's the that group who is utilizing it. It's a fad for them. It's not a fad for you all, right? It's a fad for them. Today is this, and then tomorrow I'm a Buddhist.
Yeah, it's
And
kind
then-
of
and then
it's
next
kind of like
week-
it's kind of like an NFL player, or I mean, like you play football with your kid in the backyard, so you think you're comparing yourself to an NFL player. You guys would be the NFL in this example, and me being the person just using your verbiage and all the things to sound cool. fad, facts.
But then also, okay, fine, maybe it's a fad for that person, but that's not exactly what the statement is reading.
Right,
though.
I read
the
it as a
statement
cultural
as a
statement.
cultural, and those things in particular are
And
fads.
this is why
that
this is a really good question or
right,
comment.
because I can agree with that. There are people
Yeah.
who hop from one thing to
Right.
another. There are people who are going to be short term. It'll
Right.
be a fad for them.
Right.
But in terms of what energy and vibration actually is, that's not a fad. It's always been here. It always will be. It's what we're made out of.
Right.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's
Travis,
Yeah.
can
Okay.
you reread the statement?
Sure. Yeah. Just to kind of everyone watching online, energies, chakras, universe, and vibes are just another bullshit fad.
I agree, again, because of if we're looking at the rule of the world,
Right.
it is generally used as a
Exactly.
fad.
I think it's fair to say you guys are kind of
But
the
then
exception, because you're doing it right.
So, but what the tone you're using, the tone of your voice when you say that makes it sound like new age, which
Hold
you
on.
already put a
I'm gonna
connotation
look you in
on
the
it.
eyeballs because I agree with you, but I'm not at you or you.
No.
I'm at these people who
Yep.
come at me and
Yep.
like say like you have no idea what you're talking
You're
about.
interrupting my vibe, my energy,
That's
and my
right.
chakra.
Well, hold on,
you
hold
need
on.
to step
Well, hold on,
off.
hold on. In hip hop, right now
There we go.
with the black community,
Yes.
it's a vibe.
Yep.
What does that
Correct.
mean? This is a vibe.
Correct.
You're feeling it.
No.
Yeah.
Feeling what? It's a vibe.
I picked the logo.
Ooh,
Help pick the
ooh,
logo for I
ooh,
Disagree
this
based
is-
on
this
the
is a
vibe of
This
the
is a
logo.
vibe. This is a vibe.
Hey, everything does have a vibration.
My shirt is a vibe.
You're a fun vibe, I can tell you that.
Well, I myself am.
That's why we
Look,
invite you here.
I'm the guy that
saying,
knocks,
though.
just so you
But
know.
I'm saying, but what does that mean? Or wavy, right? That's a vibe. What is wavy?
I
See?
don't know.
You
I don't
see
know
it?
what wavy
You see what I'm
is.
saying? But you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? There's a whole group, a whole generation is saying this.
Generation.
And you don't know that they're saying this. And they're saying they're thinking that they're saying a version of what you all are saying. Right? But it's their, it's my own thing. So it's my vibe. It's
So
my-
in that
it's my
sense,
wavy
you can
vibe.
say that that's the version that's a fad.
Yeah, that
and,
is.
And then our version isn't. But the connotation, new age, just no matter how you say it, it fucking sounds like shit. New age is terrible, and I would never put myself in that category. First of all, it's not new at all. I don't even know where these words came from. I
Because
don't
of
I
religion.
don't care. I want to know.
It's
See,
because
and
of
that's-
religion. It's because of religion.
Because they gave it that name, but still,
Yeah.
literally, it doesn't make sense. But in any case, New Age has a poor negative connotation to it, and the tonation of your voice makes it sound like you're using these words to be New Agey.
But
So, New Age, is New Age a fad for people? Sure, I'll agree
So
with that.
let me
also
tell
goes
you.
For people,
Go ahead.
but these things exist,
It also
whether
goes
we
back
like
to
them or
people
not.
it also goes back to people thinking that these things are associated with the occult. When you start saying these things, the sun and these vibrations, people think, all right, so what
Well,
what
here's-
Illuminati shit is this?
Yeah.
So
So-
people start thinking, and
Yeah.
I understand that's not
Yes.
what it is,
But
right?
is it any worse than people literally worshiping pharmaceuticals and people in white coats?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the
pharma
same
means
thing.
Same thing.
pharma actually means
but
in Greek
it's the same
witchcraft.
thing because people are very uneducated on medicine. They're very uneducated on the hospital systems. They're very uneducated on all these things. Politics is another version of this. They're uneducated on politics. That would have been a better example. Your football example didn't work. But the politics is another one. So you got all these people who are sideline politicians, right? I've never done politics, never worked in politics, don't understand the nuance of politics, don't get anything about politics, but I can tell you everything about the Republican Party. I know all the Republican, everybody. It's like how when you meet people and they want to tell you about, all the presidents were Masons, and then you say, man, that's interesting. Barack Obama was a Mason? Yeah, bullshit. No, he was not. Most of your presidents are not Masons, but they think they know. So they think that they're politicians. They think that they can tell you about politics the same way that these people would sit here and tell you about a vibration. If you didn't tell someone that you knew that information and you just let them talk. I do this all the time with people with history. I just am intrigued. I go like, really? And slavery was started by who? Well, the white man came and just took us off the shores. And what were we doing? We was just kings and queens. All of us. Kings and queens. No subjects. Just everybody's hello king, hello queen, hello king, hello queen. Nobody's a subject. Just kings and queens. Yeah. Oh my God, this is amazing.
Well, here's what I came with. So, Sarah, we just got adjusted today.
Correct.
What did we do after?
Vibe plate.
Oh, okay. So, from a practical standpoint, I agree with you guys. But there's some nut jobs out there. Okay, and that's where I came with this. That's why I agree with this. You guys are. I think it's fair to say, you guys are the exception, not the rule, and people don't understand that. So
Exceptions to people, not to these words.
Exactly.
So
To be clear.
okay, so here's how I look at it.
Sorry for interrupting.
I forgive you. So
I'm not supposed to do that.
I'll put my big boy pants on. I'll ground you. All right. just
I've been
kidding.
lifting with you lately. I can almost take you.
Almost. All right. So here's where I went. Okay. You guys talk practical. I'm not going to argue that because I get adjusted. I do vibe plates and they're phenomenal. They help with your adjustment. They help with a lot of things. Your cortisol levels. There's a whole list down there. You can read it. I don't have it memorized. Don't tell Doc. All right. So Ephesians 6:12 tells us that for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly realms. Now, I bring that up because I think we did a really good job of talking about the practical, but I'm a believer in Christ. So I take it from a different, I take it from a different angle. I take it from a more faith-based angle, okay? So I look at, where's the question again? All right, so I look at the energies, all these things. I also understand and believe and have the Holy Spirit in me. I believe he dwells in me. I'm a vessel that he fills up every single day. I ask for it, and I know what to look for. So when I see these weird things that are happening out there, you can call it a vibe, you can call it voodoo mama juju, you can call it whatever the hell you want. I don't care. What I care about is what the Word of God says, and the Word of God tells me is that love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control come from the Holy Spirit. That's Galatians 5:20 through 23. So I use these verses as my filter for when cuckoos come around making you look bad. I can call BS. I can throw up the flag, or the red flag, or whatever the challenge flag, whatever analogy you want to go with, and that is my filter. That is how I figure out if it's from him or from something else. On the flip side of that, let's kick it back still with spiritual. I also can't stand the people who walk in the parking lot, step in a puddle, and they think there was some demon gremlin waiting for them the whole time, like they're that special. That's overkill. That's wrong. So you can go with the spiritual on this, you can go with the practical on this, and it's about having a good, sound mind. And I think these verses really depict what you should be after every single day to help you. So when you are researching and dabbling in the energy of the world, right, you understand, okay, if it fits this, it's from him, right? Because I'm speaking to you like as a sister because you said you're a Christian. Mm-hmm. So you understand what you're supposed to do with it based on having the proper information to make a decision that is healthy.
So can you give me an example of what would violate that?
I don't have one.
Aside from is the puddle an example of what would?
It was just an example that came to my head.
So are you thinking about Christian people or non-Christian people with the New Age stuff?
Well, I'm also here's another example. There's people out there that okay. So Christianity is phenomenal. I'm very thankful for it. I'm thankful for what Jesus did, but we'll table that because it's gonna come back later. Mm-hmm. So Christians I have this one individual, God bless this person, said, I have a demon in me and I need to go get delivered. I need to drive a very far distance to make this happen. Okay? Well, if you believe the Word of God, you know that one of your brothers and sisters in Christ can help pray for you and lay hands and pray for you. And, so overly spiritualized in that way too, and not just the puddle. It's just, God only works in this location of the world, or you can go so many different directions with over spiritualization or with how you view your faith, and it can be used also in a very negative way. Does that make sense? It's not the best examples, but you put me on the spot. Usually I'm pretty witty, but the puddle it's a wonderful example. It's kind of a funny example. It doesn't really offend anybody, but we've all been there. Oh, it just isn't my day. Thank you, God, or to hell with you, Satan! And go nuts. Mm-hmm. Class is back on. Anybody else? I can talk all day. But I'm not.
I was just curious about that, and I think we're at like a little bit of a serious point in that. But I was just curious about because there's so much conditioning that has happened in the past 100 years, and there's a lot of people who would say that consciousness is rising and that people are more aware. So whether you agree or disagree with that, let's say that even if you don't agree with that, we have social media, we have regular media, we have all of these things that are coming at us and more information than ever before, and our subconscious is always recording. And what if a whole bunch of our conditioning and programming is completely wrong?
Oh, I agree. Like
And
example, like
so-
marijuana. Like, you know, they started doing that in
and
the
so
1950s.
how much of that has created a fear towards these things from Christians especially that isn't necessary?
So I really think the problem then is if you take God out of the United States of America and you remove him, guess what happens? Now you have a bunch of lost sheep and can't discern for themselves. But you saw what I did. I got just a handful of verses here, and we really have it summed up where I believe. So, because I've seen miracles, I've seen things, I've seen a lot, I've seen real bad things. That's a different conversation. But you know, where it's about having the proper discernment to make a judgment call for yourself. And a lot of people are lacking that, and I think that's what's causing a lot of people to have fear, to be indecisive about it, or to even mock it. You know, I noticed that Kevin and Buff Guy Dave were a little quiet, and I understand you both didn't have a lot to say, but anything you want to throw in here? I mean,
Yeah, Alex, Dana, I appreciate how passionate you are. I don't pretend to know anywhere close to what you guys know about this particular subject, but I can relate to it. Because with my profession, I'll have somebody that comes in, they go to the gym, they get one workout in, and they think that they're a personal trainer. Oh, I know everything. Or they watched one YouTube video. Well, they don't know what hypertrophy means. Or they don't know how to properly nutritionalize for if they want to lose weight or if they want to gain size, whatever it is. But they pretend to know.
Yeah.
And just the way that I saw you banging your hand on the table,
I get that
talking
from my
about
dad.
what's that?
My dad has been known to do that on this table. Too.
But I can really relate to that type of passion because nothing pisses me off more than having someone just come in and say, well, I don't need you. I don't need your help. I know what I'm doing. Get the fuck out of my face.
take a
I've
piss in
heard
your
that
Cheerios.
before.
You don't know anything, or you're wrong, or yeah.
Even though, you know, I've read thicker textbooks and I've used it in actual practice, understanding how everything works, understanding where to start. So I really appreciate the passion that you have towards that. I just don't pretend to know anywhere close to what you know about those particular things. So
Kevin, I want to ask you, in your experience in life, has it changed, the verbiage, the words, like throughout the decades? I'm 42. I know. I mean, things have changed. Fads have changed. I mean, heck, I kept a lot of my old clothes, and they're back in style. So, I mean, are things? I got a funny story about that, but I'll save it for a different
Just waiting
time.
for bell-bottom jeans again.
Like, is there like
the
something
mullet.
like you can
I'm not waiting for that
share? It
one.
doesn't have to be anything big, but like just from your perspective, like when you hear those things, what goes in your mind? And you're not right, wrong, or indifferent. Just
You know,
Into the mic. Into the
yeah,
mic.
in the mic.
In the mic.
I guess, you know, everybody's got their opinion,
yeah.
you know, and right, wrong, you know, it's your opinion and it's your beliefs and what you believe in, and that's the way I see things, you know. I could sit and lecture about this and that if I had the knowledge that you guys are talking about. Is it going to be right or wrong? I don't know. You know, it's my opinion, your opinion, your opinion. Everybody has an opinion, so I don't really get into what you guys are talking about too much because it's not a subject that I've been involved with before. You know, coming from my background, what I've done my whole life, I am totally lost on what you guys are talking about. You know,
That's okay.
seriously.
It's okay.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's nothing that what I've done my whole life is completely different from what background you guys are coming from. So it kind of throws me for a loss a little bit. But I'm just the type of guy or a person that, you know, everybody has an opinion. Okay. If everybody agreed with everybody, we'd be in a perfect world, wouldn't we?
I agree.
It'd be
Boring
boring, but
Boring,
like.
yep.
Well,
yeah.
we'd be in a perfect world if everybody agreed with everybody.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be controversy. And it's a matter of how far controversy goes and how far you take it.
I agree. This is me just getting water. Don't mind me. So, you know what? I think, is there any final thoughts on that? Because we got some fun ones tonight. And
We do have some fun ones.
Yes, and I'm gonna mix it up a little bit, but we're gonna get to all of them, so don't worry.
I don't think that. I think that everybody having an opinion is not the best thing, though, because some people's opinions are rooted in ignorance. And if your opinion is rooted in ignorance, then you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And that's a lot of times a lot of what we're talking about here. Not you. I'm not saying
No.
I didn't mean that
Hey,
towards you.
you can't insult me. Trust me.
I didn't mean that towards you. That's not what I meant. I meant like in general.
I get you.
Yeah, I meant in general. But these are like this particular subject. I think that is the case. It is a lot of ignorant people, very misguided people who are stuck in their fears of their religion, stuck in their fears of what other people will think.
Yep.
Following fads because celebrities are doing them. I remember when everybody was a Kabbalist, I was like, well, what kind of Kabbalist are you? They was like, I study the Kabbalah. I go get stuff on my hand. Oh, so you put Indian shit on your hand and you study a Jewish mysticism version of religion? Oh my God, what is that?
Good for you.
Good man, look at you. Now,
So big.
Now, those people are probably out there saying, free Hamas. And it's like, oh my Lord, now you're a Muslim. Oh my God, this is amazing. What will you be next week? Zoroastrian? What will you be? Who knows? But that is what these people are rooted in ignorance. And it's the same thing with everything that we have going around us. So I think that, yes, you all are more knowledgeable than the majority of the public, including most of us at this table. You know, you all wouldn't be the exception to the rule.
I agree.
I would also like to say that I truly believe that society has become a diversion. Okay?
Agree.
They divert us from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another. So people can't focus on what they should be focusing on in life because they drive us into so many different directions from one day to the next that you can't keep track of what really is truly going on. And that's the big problem.
Right.
Agree.
We probably need more of you people, like,
Right, so
doing
being as loud as we
If
can.
we can get on here and say it's not a fad and we don't want it to be a fad and here's why, and take some of those people and get them thinking a little bit differently, or then breaking down some of the fears and saying, okay, this person holds this belief system and also holds this belief system. Let me learn more about that. So it's like part of it is maybe like we don't want it to be a fad because these are amazing tools. This is how I healed my son from autism. Not vibes, but like using energy testing to see what his body would attract to and what we needed to do to solve his cognitive and digestive issues.
Do you think people are a little more defensive towards this because we've been programmed? You talked about society, and we're all programmed in society to believe that pharmacy, which means witchcraft in the Greek word.
Well, think about Michael Jackson, right? When he was in the hyperbaric chamber, like because the hyperbaric chamber provides oxygen that will help revitalize skin cells, that will help him defeat his issues with vitiligo. People thought that he was being weird. Oh, he's going in, and that's how.
He said, "I'm not like other boys."
Well, and that's not funny. I don't play with Mike. So, but Michael Jackson, but he was honest. But people weren't paying attention to that, and so they thought that he was being, weird, and he's rich, so he's got animals.
Experimenting.
He's experimenting. But actually, that is a real remedy for helping people with vitiligo. It does work. It's a whole matter of fact. What I used to sell with biologics, they were calling that a fad and calling it stupid. But when Kobe Bryant and then Dirk Nowitzki started doing it, it's where you take the blood. They take the blood out, and what they do is they take they separate it, do a Depakote system. They separate it, and then do a system of shaking it up. They separate it. You have the Depakote, then you have the white blood cells and the red blood cells, and they shoot I might be wrong, but I think they shoot the red blood cells back inside you. I could be wrong about all this, but what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to rejuvenate the blood cells inside of you and make you play longer. Kobe Bryant played for so long without so many injuries because of this process. When other people do it, when I'm selling the product, they're like, oh, that's some new age witchcraft. That doesn't work. And then I would say, well, Kobe Bryant played and he did it. And then people would hear that and say, oh.
Now it's okay.
Well, maybe. Let me see more information on it. But if I didn't say Kobe Bryant did it, now it's a new age fad. But it's not new age. People have been doing this in Europe for years. They've been doing it here. It's just that you have to have the certain money, have a doctor who knows this kind of information. Then you can utilize it.
And because people don't understand what we do, they jokingly call us witch doctor. And I have one lady that was like shaking. She's like, if you ever run into my husband and he calls you witch doctor, I'm so sorry. I explain you and he doesn't know what else to say. And I'm like, I love it. I was like, listen, we only do voodoo on Thursdays. And so it's really safe to come here on Mondays. And we joke about that. But then the problem is you go to church and they're like, and then the witch doctor took communion and started foaming at the mouth. And I'm like, you just put doubt into the mind of every person in this congregation about what I do. Because you're joking when you call me a witch doctor, but now you're subconsciously, people are considering that
as a
I'm
bad thing,
scary and what I'm doing is wrong or something like that because people don't understand it. So we can joke about the witch doctor thing, but it's like kind of not fucking funny.
You know, it happened to me when I was working at a different company, CTS. I was sitting there and I was getting healthier. I was getting off my Adderall, all the things I was on. And guess what? Our HR rep, he's a funny guy. He started, making this little thing like, Travis is part of the Scientology group because I'm with the Wellness Way. You know what I mean? So I get the label. So eating clean, getting my food allergies tested and checking for inflammation and supplementations.
No different than
Right.
you work for
Scientology?
the Wellness Way.
Yeah.
Well, and you look at like what we do in practice, and it's like, okay, well, you could go see another nutritionist, and they'll give you twice as many supplements as we probably will. They'll probably tell you some of the same food advice as what we do. But like, if you come see us, we'll give you half the amount of things. You'll get better twice as fast. But like, you're weirded out because I'm going to push on your arm while you lie on a table.
Yep.
You know what
Like,
I think
no,
it
that's
is?
not weird.
Yeah.
I think people just don't want to change.
Well,
And
Conditioning.
Well, hold
That's
on.
hard to break.
Well, hold on. Here's what's interesting, though. So, like Scientology, right? So you brought that up, and then we agreed.
Tom
So
Cruise, what up?
This is what I find interesting. So Scientology is strange. Yet Dianetics is one of the biggest selling books of all time, and that's all
I'll tell you what,
Scientology is.
when I did coursework down in Clearwater, and some of the greatest clinicals that I've been at were all taught by Scientologists, and I've done the business work from L. Ron Hubbard, and it's some of the best business courses I've ever sat through.
Yes.
And I would tell my brother, I'm like, listen, if I come home and I'm like mind fucked and I don't know it, can you tell me? But also, it was so good. Now the religion part's weird, and so I didn't even talk about it or tell people anything about that aspect. And honestly, those people never pushed it on me or anything. But I was like this close to it when I was down in Clearwater.
But do you see how you went to a convention and the people speaking to you, you had to filter out what you were going to take with you.
Right.
So that is the piece that everybody hears, where that's where it's a fad and it's a cult. You said that earlier, and that yes, it tripped in my brain right away. Like, yes, they think it is a cult.
Right.
No different than my family thought I was a cult when I gave my life to Christ. And so
it's easier to explain and justify away other people's choices to justify your own decisions or lack of decisions or lack of desire to learn what your truth might be.
Yep.
And that's okay too.
Yep. No one wants to know that they might be wrong.
Right.
Or have to change.
Well,
Or
that's too
have
bad.
to change.
That's too bad. I often like to tell them that they are.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like to start by saying like I'm willing to be wrong because there's a good chance that
The reason-
I'm going to change my mind about some things.
You know what?
Yeah.
I love being humble enough to hear people's information and take it. It's good, and that's what this show is about too. You know what I mean? It's awesome.
I just want to follow up with you, Lorenzo, on when you brought up Kobe Bryant, Dirk Nowitzki with that the treatment that they did.
Yeah.
That sounds extremely familiar to what Lance Armstrong did during his Tour de France run.
Yep.
And you look at the different perspective of how he was portrayed as this massive cheater.
Right.
But yet it's okay for Kobe Bryant, Dirk Nowitzki, and all that stuff. So when you start talking about that, I'm like, think of the different perspective, the way that he was looked at, even though he overcame what? He shouldn't even be alive.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Didn't he eventually though admit to steroids? I believe he did admit to it.
I know he admitted to the blood cell stuff. I don't know if he actually admitted to steroids.
I'll have to get, I don't have enough on that, but yeah, that would
There's a
be nice to know
documentary
that.
out there. I know he speaks very openly about it. but-
Outstanding.
And now they're trying to get orthopedists to use it all the time, especially like at a hospital that you all have out here that deals with those fudge packer players. So.
Oh, jeez. Here's a funny one too. We have an oxygen machine in the back. I know AJ Hawk used to have one for the Packers. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he made his whole bedroom like oxygen, just ventilation, oxygen. And
Gross. That's just gross.
But
'cause you
everything's
mentioned
weird
the
until it becomes popular belief.
Yeah.
hey, that was
And
A
then it's
long
normal.
time ago.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
We can
but-
normalize just about anything.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
If you got enough people talking about it.
And look at people who are like truly pioneers
endorsing
in
it.
things that are good. They had to start somewhere. And
Internet.
yeah.
You know, probably one of the funniest things about Seinfeld is when George comes to Jerry and says, "There's this new fad. It's called the internet," and they're like, "The internet, like that'll ever catch on."
Yeah.
Or like Dwight Schrute in The Office, he goes, "Yeah, when the internet fad goes out, we'll go back. I'll be ready to go." Whatever he makes a comment like.
I always say that everything is a fad until it becomes normalized, right? So even Christianity was a fad, right? So they were saying that these are pagans because pagan doesn't mean you don't believe. It just means it's not the popular religion of the time. So these were pagans. These are considered pagans because we believe in the royal imperial cult. We believe in Judaism. And we believe in these old religions. But this newer one, this is a fad. So they persecuted Christians. The same thing happened with Muslims. The Muslims persecuted the Christians because they were saying this is not a real religion. Well, the Muslims come after the Christians. So how are you either way? But once again, these
Conditioning.
were conditioning, right?
Everything's
Conditioning
conditioning.
people. So
And
yeah.
then people like me and Dana come along and like, you can't shut us up. Like, I mean, you could try, but you can't. And so, but when people then realize that all the other systems have failed them, what's it going to be to turn it around? Like to turn the health of the country around, really. Because as every generation, we're watching everything be, kids are sicker. Epigenetics are being expressed more poorly. It is literally people like us who are going to turn that around.
Yep.
So
Hopefully.
Well,
Pfizer's got way
kudos.
more money and a bigger voice than you. They're
Yeah.
sponsoring CNN right now.
I completely agree.
Agree.
I'd like to believe that good wins, and we're at least here to fight the good fight while we're here, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that.
Do you not know the Rothschild family? You can't be, dude.
Listen, I do, but are we gonna stay stuck? You get what you put your attention on.
Exactly.
So
I
we
was just
can
gonna
stay
say.
stuck in all the reasons we got here and all the stories, but we got to talk about from here going forward where we are, where we're going, how we're gonna get there. It is not about dwelling on and giving attention to the Rothschilds and the Wickershams.
George Santavallo. If you must learn from history so that you don't repeat it. We keep repeating because we don't learn
I'll
from the
keep you
past.
around, and then we can ground each other.
That's fine.
So much I can
Things.
say
Yep.
right
You
now.
can be stuck in the past. I'll be
I'm
stuck in
saying-
the future, and then somewhere in the middle,
Well,
of us,
you
could
we'll
just
get a
meet.
plan.
The solution is in the past. There, you see what went wrong, and then you can see how you don't make those same mistakes.
Have we ever gotten it right?
Because we keep making the same mistakes. Because we're not learning from the
we
past.
keep focusing on them.
See,
Can't
that, now we're
if you
chicken and
if you
egging.
focus on problems, you find more problems.
How's the war on
Just
drugs
saying.
going?
Yeah.
How's the war on terror going? What are
Don't
we
even
getting
get me
more
started.
of?
Everything I
You're gonna get
everything
more
I
of
have
it
to
because
say
we're
right
not
now will
learning
get us
from it.
blocked.
Because we're
So-
talking about it.
You think talking about it is making it worse?
I think giving it attention.
Attention.
Absolutely is getting more of it.
Look, I tell people this every single time in their initial with me, because I will say, like, okay, first of all, there's a spectrum in health. Okay, on one side you have pharma and you have hospitals and doctors and nurses, and they spend about 80% of their time diagnosing and running tests, and about 20% of their time looking at solutions, like drugs and surgery, right? So 80% of their time is on problems, 20% of their time is on solutions. In the middle of the road, you have like functional medicine, and those people are about 50-50 problems and solutions, 50-50 drugs and surgery, diet, lifestyle. Okay, then you have us. I can't even reach it. We are so far over there. And what we do is we 20% care about what the problem is. If we even really care. And I know that sounds crazy. We do care. We care if you have a label. We care if you have a diagnosis. We care about those things because they do matter. Health histories do matter. But we 20% care about it because we 80% care. What are you going to do about it? And what are your solutions? And I tell people, I'm like, if you focus on solutions, what do you think you're going to find? You're going to find more solutions. If you're over here and you just keep focusing on problems, you're just going to find more problems. Because why do you think everyone is so obsessed with, well, what do I have? And I finally know what I have. And I know what my diagnosis is. They finally figured it out. Well, man, if you stop focusing on that and you just get past it, you're not going to have any of that stuff anymore.
Could have eaten a couple of vegetables.
I agree
Yeah.
with that with medicine. I don't agree with that with history and what's going on in politics. I agree with that with
Awareness?
medicine.
I would
do
agree
think
with you
that's
in
true.
the sense that you have to have an awareness
Awareness,
around
yeah.
it. But then you
Right.
have to switch your brain into a solution-based paradigm in all things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
I agree to that, yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's it,
Outstanding.
right? We all agree?
All right, so let's go home.
All right. Good night.
We solved
I
the
mean-
world's problems.
I got one, and I want
One
them.
conversation at a time. That's how
Yep,
you solve
yep,
the
yeah.
world's problems.
I think that I hate to say that was a good question.
Oh,
Or
by the way,
statement
Lance
to say.
Armstrong on January 17th, 2013 did admit on Oprah that he used performance-enhancing drugs.
Okay.
Just
Did he
FYI.
say what
You
type
can't-
though?
you
I mean,
can't
was it
trust
like
Oprah.
HGH or was it actually
Yeah,
anabolic? Or?
Just so
I'm
you
just
guys,
curious now.
just so you guys know, our chat's blowing up. Hello to Patrick Hornick. He's a friend from high school. He's one of my closest friends, oldest friends.
Oh, that's
How
who
you
that was?
doing?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he says hello to my wife Sarah. That's awesome. So thanks for
Doc
joining.
said hi on there. But
Doc,
I don't know
what
if he's
up,
still paying
brother?
attention. I think he's golfing.
Glasses. No glasses. All right. So here we are to the next question. I'm skipping to number 3. We'll come back to number 2. You guys ready?
What?
Men should pay for the first date. I want the men to go first. We'll go.
What was that again?
Men should pay for the first date.
I agree.
Absolutely.
110%.
Cool. We're all in agreement. Ladies?
I agree.
Agree.
Agreed.
So let's find out why we agree. That's usually where we come to different conclusions. So, Mr. Kevin, you want to enlighten us a little bit with yours?
Well, I've always been a firm believer that, if you're going to ask a lady on a date, if she's asking me out, she can pay. Okay? But if I'm asking, I'm paying. Bottom line. That's how I look at it. I've never gotten asked out, so I don't know what it's about.
That's
I
awesome.
always had to do the asking.
That's awesome. Who wants to go ahead.
Okay, I didn't know if you were going to do other guys. So I would bring it back to like the polarity of the sexes and the fact that there are some assumed gender roles, and not that the money or any sort of anything in a relationship has to be the man or the woman, but in the beginning, because I would like to be strongly in the feminine and the masculine tends to be the provider, I would like to be taken care of, provided for, and shown that I have someone who will take care of things for me. And that pretty much is it.
So, what do you tell the people that think otherwise? Just let them be how they want to be? Or
Here's
do you
the thing.
feel...
I think that because we've all this buddy-buddy, 50-50, everything else. So if you have magnets and you have a positive and a negative, there's a reason that they attract. And it's because they're polarized. And when they say opposites attract, that's what they're talking about. So if you have this buddy-buddy system where there's not a polarity in the sexes, and it's like, well, you pay this time, I'll pay this time, I'll decide on Mondays, you decide on Tuesdays, and everything else, and there's not sort of like this dominant and submission, and I don't say that in a negative way, but if somebody's calling the shots and somebody's following along, and you can flip-flop in certain cases, and so you can go do that, but how's that working out for you? Right. How's that working out for society? How's that working? And I mean, don't ask me for relationship advice. I'm on my second divorce. I've gone 15 years round with my second husband. It's not like I have this all figured out, but I've learned a lot along the way. So, and I've studied a lot about like just kind of how things could operate a lot better if we allowed for more of those roles to be and not trying to make everything equal all the time.
Okay.
Hey, if you need any advice on marriages, I've been through 8 of them, so I can give you whatever you need.
Okay, makes me feel good about 2.
Really?
Just kidding.
How many you got? Do you...
3. I'm on
Outstanding.
3.
Okay.
3's a charm.
All right.
I'm on number 2.
Oh, yeah?
Why are you looking at me?
You're next.
You're next.
Well, if you play your cards right, you're number 3. But no, just kidding.
Excuse me? I disagree.
Sometimes he forgets you right here. Sorry. I'm blocking.
It happens.
I look. My father, when I started dating, he said this was his exact words. He called. I'll never forget it. He said, "Let me holler at you for a minute." And he called me outside. He said, "Hey, your little thing gonna be getting hard, and you gonna be trying to get with them little nasty girls. So let me tell you like this: if you ain't got no money, don't be asking no woman out. Because if you can't take out, then you ain't got no business asking her out. But when you get you some money, make sure that you take a woman. If you ask out, you take her out." He said, "Now if you ain't got no money and you're asking a woman out, you should be going out to try to figure out how you can get you some money. And I'm assuming that you having her take you to go get you some money so that you can take her out later. But you should not be asking a woman out if you ain't got no money." And so my father, even to this day, we talk about how these boys, these young men don't do that and how dating is. And he's like, I don't understand, because that nobody in my generation ever thought that that's what you should do, that you don't take a woman out. You like, she asks you out, or you all go out and you pay half. That's like so absurd to my father. But I get it. My father's from 1950. So to him, this is like, that's crazy talk. And so even to me, dating, like I would take women out, and when they would say we'll pay half, I'm like, no, put your money away. To me, it's insulting. It's almost like you think I don't even have the money, or I don't even have the ability to take you out. So you think that you should pay your way. I just honestly think that is just something a man should do. If you don't have the money, you better be creative. Cook. Learn how to cook. Figure out something else. Have your mama cook or something and say, "Mama, go home. I'll act like I made it." But you got to get creative. You got to do something. But you need to, if you like you said, you need to take charge. And if you're gonna ask this woman out, you need to either pay or figure out another option. And it needs to be on you, brother.
Dana.
Yeah, I talk a lot about the polarity in the sexes too, just kind of like how you did. I pretty much go through it on every single episode. But, you know, one of the things that Doc actually always talks about too is like, okay, when a man, kind of what you were talking about, when a man gets money, what does he think about? He thinks about like what woman can I provide for now versus, you know, the opposite is when a woman gets money, she thinks it's all for herself, right? It's those different roles. But the masculine, their role is to be able to provide for their family and for a woman. And that's inherent really in all men. And with that whole polarity of the sexist thing, we're seeing people being depolarized and getting closer to center. We're seeing the women becoming a lot more masculine and the men becoming a lot more feminine. And maybe that is why we're seeing a lot more of this 50-50 kind of stuff going on. But men, what their real job is to be building that legacy to be able to leave their family for generations and generations and generations. And men really do want to provide for women. And I love what you said on before, and I want you to say it again. Well, every time you come here, that you would feel like it was insulting if the woman wanted to chip in for the date, because I think we need to like blast messages like this out there that's like, no, okay, like the normal gender roles are actually okay, and men want to step up and do the leading there. And like you said, if he can't afford to take her on a date, maybe he either shouldn't be, or he's, you know, got to get his 3 M's together, his mind, muscle, and money.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If the guy wanted the woman to pay for dinner, what would you call that man?
A soy latte pussified beta male.
And just for clarity, can you just say it one more time?
Soy latte pussified beta male.
Sorry, we got away from that a little bit.
I said a little louder that time.
Thank you. Now, Sarah, before you answer, I have a wonderful relationship with you. So I'm just curious, what was our first date?
Well, you kind of stole my answer now. So I love how you said, Lorenzo, that if a guy can't pay for a meal to go out, then to be creative. So my husband was very creative, and he said, let me take you to the mall. And so I did not know how much money he had. I did not know what he had. So we're walking around the mall, and he goes, which store would you want to go into? And we're just kind of walking, and I was like, I don't really know. Interesting. Now I'm like, I don't know what I want. Like, what can I have? And so he said, we're going to get some pedicures. So not expensive, but it was the best thing ever. We did not need to we didn't get a meal, or no, we did like Chili's or something. But we're sitting in there and we're getting petties done, and there were so many ladies who walked past with their boyfriends, elbowing them, going, see, if he's in there, you can be in there. Totally. He's just sitting there just smiling. And there was a mom and her daughter that were sitting there, and they're just chit-chatting with him, and I'm just sitting there being pampered and just watching him smile, and he's being social and whatever, and I'm just like, okay. So first dates are, in my opinion, the first look to what your life's going to be. So going out into public, I think, is a very good idea. However, if you don't have the budget for that, that was the first time we went out, and then after that was he would make dinner. And so we both were coming out of divorces, and so money's tight, and so we were very creative. And it got to the point where he would just ask me, what are you craving for dinner? Or what are you looking to do? Do you want to be a couple hours or just a little thing? And then he would make up whatever that is. I think that he barely spent any money because we didn't have much between the two of us. But he always, you know, anybody who's baller on a budget, get creative. I love that, because the world that we live in today, there's not much money to go around. Even if, I mean, my husband and I work here. Doc, you pay us well, thank you. We have good lives, but it's, to go out to buy good food, clean groceries, it's expensive, especially if you've got kids. So
Bidenomics.
yeah. So get creative. But I really think that the guy needs to do it, pay for the first meal, or at least come up with a plan, even if it's like a picnic or something, if there's no money spent or whatever, because that shows you what your life will be going forward. That first date is very important to show, is he going to take initiative? Because if he's not going to take initiative on your first date, what is the rest of your life going to look like? Are you going to be the one going, what do you want to do? Are you pulling ideas out of him? Well, then look at the rest of your life. Your first date, almost everybody, between the guy and the girl, are like, want to impress the other person to keep the person. So if you're showing your best, and your best is the woman has to pull something out of the man, that's going to be the rest of your life. And that's where a man, if you want to put a ring on it, you really like her, you really want to be with her, then you have to be creative. You have to show that in those hard times when you don't have money or the world falls apart around you or whatever, what are you going to do? She needs to know that she can rely on you to be the one to pick up those pieces and move forward regardless.
Good job, wife.
I don't quite have as good of a first date story there, but Kristen, we did go to Mackinac for our first date, and she was 10 minutes late. I thought she was standing me up, but she was just running late. It was a little slick that day, so what was it, November 23rd of 2016? So hopefully I scored some brownie points right there.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
So if you're watching, please, anyway. I'm very traditional in the fact of first date, man should pay the same way. I should open up the door for her, open up the car door for her. If we're walking down the street, who's the side that's closest to the street on the sidewalk? It's going to be me. That's the way I was taught as a kid. It's a gentleman's thing to do right there. You're not flexing. It's not like you're trying to say, oh, look how much money I have. It's just a respect thing. It's something that a man should do for a woman on the first date, because in my experience, I've never really been asked out for a first date. I've been the one asking. And if I'm the one asking, I should be the one paying. Simple as that.
I agree. And I also agree. Look, if you are a woman and you want to be independent, I'm just going to be blunt with you. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're missing out on all the things that a man can do for you because society tells you to think otherwise, to think individually, to think feminism and toxic masculinity and all the BS. We're paying for your meal. It's for free.
What's not to like about free food?
I mean, and honestly, if a woman ever paid or offered to pay for me, I would deuces. I would stand them up, and I wouldn't blame it on the ice. I'm telling you right now, don't waste your time. You know what? The man's supposed to provide for the woman. I don't care if that's old-fashioned. Well, we've been around for thousands of years, and guess what? It's been that way. The man takes care of the wife. I'm sorry, my wife is 5'1", buck nothing. She can't do nothing if someone comes in the door. She can shoot straight. That's why she's in the back. I'm up front. We are the providers. Why is that so bad? Why is that so evil? Why is that so hurt? When you talk about it.
Well, you know why that is.
Well, yeah, we know why, but it's dumb. And I'm telling you, if you're watching, you're being dumb. Check your battery.
Well, Well, so I will say this. So on the flip side of this, there is another side to this, right? So I guess this. So like Kels. I'm sure he's what Kels.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say hi to Kels.
Yeah, Kels. So
Forgot.
Kels doesn't take women out. Like he doesn't take them out at all. Like that's not happening. He's not doing that. Like he's not spending money on them. He'll say that I'm not spending any money on them. That's your thing. You do that. That's what he'll say to me. You do that. Because he'll know I'll take a woman out. Like I'll even say I may not like her, but I'm hungry, so I'll get something to eat. She ain't got to eat shit. She can watch me eat. But we going out. You know what I'm saying? But there's another side of this. There are some women today who have these very lofty expectations of a first date.
Agreed.
Right? And so there are some women who think, well, if we're gonna go out, we need to go to Republic or something like that, or we need to go to the highest of high-end places. I need to be around all the celebrities, and it's a first date. You need to take, like when women have said to me, we should go on a trip. You want to take a trip? I could be a serial killer. This could be the last trip you take. This is what you want to do?
But it's for free.
Right. Let's go to Cancun. You want to never come back from Cancun? That's what you want to do? A woman said to me once, we should go to Jamaica. I said, you want to go to Jamaica and not return? You want me to Natalie Holloway your ass? That's what you want me to do? And she said, who is that? I said, look her up.
Whoa.
Look her up. Look her up. And then she looked her up and she said, you're crazy. And I was like, I'm crazy. You're crazy. You don't know me. I don't know you. You might try to kill. We could go to Jamaica.
You cannot come back from Jamaica.
You got Sylvester, fucking Leo, and goddamn whoever the hell this big motherfucker is. And they are just waiting when we get off the boat. And they're like, hey, man, we're ready to kick your ass blood. And what am I supposed to do with this?
Stop.
You didn't set me up this whole time. I'm screwed. You had this all set up. I'm screwed, right? I didn't sat up here and came to damn Jamaica with you. All this I didn't pay for this trip. Not having it.
Making Nikes for the rest of your life.
Right. So I think that is a part of the reason that a lot of men kind of feel like, nah, I'm not paying for no woman, is because they do have these strange, lofty expectations. Like, we got to go do some, like, this outrageous stuff. Like, there's some women who would have did the whole pedicure thing, and they would have been like, okay, so what's next? That was good. Okay, so what else we gonna do? And then it would have been, we gonna go to Chili's. Chili's, I don't eat at Chili's. Mm-hmm. Well, then you don't eat. See, that's
Yeah.
Kels. That's where bitches don't eat this.
I think it's good for everybody to have expectations, but there needs to be humility across the board. So I like money. I really like a lot of money. But I also can understand the fact that if you have the right person, none of that matters. And you can also fall in love with potential. So there has to be that level of like, where's the connection at? And am I going to go out with someone who's not paying for the first date? No. But do I care what it is? Also, no.
Right.
Not at all. Not even. And hopefully they don't know what I've done. And I am that like fiercely independent woman, but not because I chose it for myself. Because when I got together with my husband, he deployed for 6.5 years straight. So I went from being like emotionally independent, sad all the time, to the other extreme. So now I still understand the feminine and the masculine though. So I'm still like, no, I can completely fall into the feminine around the right men, but I also need a pretty strong man. But I don't care where he takes me. It just has to be somebody who's going to call the shots so that I can turn my brain off for 5 seconds.
Yeah, you know,
Right.
I think for me, part of it is part of paying for the meal. It's not just because we're the provider, but it's guys like to chase. You know,
Yeah,
and
it's part of
that's
pursuing.
part of it. It's kind of like you're taking the game away a little bit. And, you know, I wouldn't have done the pedicures. I mean, that's probably the most soy pussified latte beta male thing I've done.
close.
But it worked that time. But I'll tell you, was I close?
You were close.
Thank you. I'm working on it. I'd write in the notes, but I'd screw that up too. So, but you know, I think that's part of the chase is to actually show them, look, I'm together or put together. I'm responsible. I'm here to provide for you and then chase after you. This is the initiation, and that to me, I think is getting lost, and it's sad. It's unfortunate. Now, is there exceptions? Yes, but we don't go into that in the show unless we're running out of material to talk about. But I don't think we're going to have that problem tonight. Right. So, anybody else want to add to that? We got more questions, trust me. And I think this next one is going to be quite long.
Well, I also think that women are taking on, when women choose to be bisexual, women are taking on that role as a man, and they're doing it a lot better than men. Well, that part of that, the first date part, because they're going to fall in love with you that night. That's just how lesbians are. They're just going to fall in love with you that night. It's going to happen that quick.
I'm also a lesbian.
No, that's great.
I love my woman.
He loves
I love my woman.
He loves women.
Well, and so you have these women take these women out, and they are actually doing what a man should be doing. So like in Chicago, this is very often you see this a lot. You know, it's like, well, that woman is enjoying that woman. She's not there by force. This is not an experiment. She's actually, because that woman is treating her like she's giving her that false sense of security, but it is there.
Yeah.
And she's making her feel like this could be potentially what it's always going to be. Unfortunately, that's, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But, And then the whole we can Netflix and chill. So I don't have to take you out. Come over. Let's watch this movie.
Yep.
Let's bang, and then man,
Yep.
it's
then chill.
It's three.
It's like $19.99 a month. I mean, somebody paid.
Well, mom paid. I'm on my mom's subscription. Or the last chick who was just here. I still got her subscription and her password. So we're watching Netflix, and then
He sounds like he's got experience.
And then when we get, I have a lot of experience with a lot of things, not just history. But so then once you get done, it's she got to be out 12 to 4. That's usually vampire hoes. Got to be out before the sun come up. Get out of here, bitch.
Avoid that walk of shame.
Well, I don't care about your walk. That's on you. Just get out of here before the sun come up.
Mr. History Buff, though, you said you like to look at history and then learn from it. So have you learned from your history?
I sure have. Oh yes, I have.
The time frame
bad
that you
way or
just
good
said,
way?
right?
Both.
It's funny he brought up lesbians because they actually have a 75% divorce rate right now.
I was just going to say,
Which,
theirs is
and,
higher.
and the top
It's higher.
4 issues are the exact same as a man and a woman. So women are really outing themselves. They're messing up, and they're being very hypocritical by having that stat there. So you know what? Drop. Anyways, anyone else? I'll move in the next one.
That came from the comments. I didn't even see that. Which is funny because this was a statement we were going to do at some point anyway.
Oh, deep thoughts over here. Okay.
Anyway.
All right. Well, I think we tied that one up nice with a nice Red Bull with the Netflix conversation. So, all right, you ready for this one? This one's a little more deep. This one might potentially have some wounds. Who knows? We'll start with Buff Man down there. All right. Here's a statement: the church of today is not what God intended. The church of today.
Before we say this, is there any semantics with these words first before we start doing this?
Look.
Talk about that for an hour and a half.
Look, it was because all you people started bringing up people and not words in that.
Voice readers and be like, okay, just to make everybody happy, we're gonna let the voice read the question.
Use guys.
Can you please read
Yes, Siri's gonna have to do it from now on.
I'll just read it one more time for shits here. Okay. The church of today is not what God intended. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Agree.
I agree. You can see if you can do it. Yes.
You can disagree for fun.
Let's do it.
All right, I disagree.
Okay, good, because I agree.
What was it again?
The church of today is not what God intended. So basically, it's not what God intended church to be.
Agree.
Okay.
Totally.
All right. Muscles.
Next subject, or
Next statement.
Now it's time for the expansion of the agree or disagree.
we're trying to cut this one short tonight, right? Gotta get home to babies. So
Oh, do you?
No,
In that
kidding.
case,
I'm
we got
joking
8 more questions tonight. I hope you peed.
I'm just kidding. The way I kind of took it is there's been so many different branches of religion, church, and stuff that has come off in the last, thousands and thousands of years. So, it's hard to actually know what he intended it to be. I mean, I know the Bible a little bit. I have gone to church, those types of things. I don't pretend to know everything about it, but I can't imagine that what we're seeing today is what he intended it to be. I think it's very politicized in a lot of senses. It's very monetized in a lot of senses. Who's that Joel Osteen?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many hundreds of millions is he worth? Is that what God intended the church to be? Like that to be the face of religion in some way, shape, or form? So that's why I agreed with that statement.
Sarah?
All right. I agree that the church today is not what God intended because I see a lot of churches being run like a business. And every single time I see churches where you have people who have never known anything about Christ. I did not grow up a Christian. I grew up in religion. I grew up in my mom's side of the family. Well, it was funny. My mom grew up in a house where it was Lutheran. Her dad was Lutheran and went to a Lutheran church, but her mom was Catholic and went to a Catholic church. So there wasn't really a relationship with the Lord. It was just, you just go. You go because you're supposed to go, and you have attendance, and did you tithe, and it was all based off of deeds and merit and your name, especially. Like if you had a name that's very well prominent in the church, well, then you're good no matter what, period. And if you're a kid who goofs up, well, you just haven't, you'll get there. You're like the prodigal. You'll come back. It's okay. But nobody says anything. And no one said anything, you know, when my mom was growing up, when my dad was growing up. My dad grew up, it was like, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the word Creaster, where you go to church only for Christmas and Easter. So that's pretty much how my dad grew up. And there was a lot of the same things of like, you just have to go, period. When they tell you, you have to go. And if we don't go for months or years, whatever, it's fine, but you go when I tell you to go. And so when my parents got married, we were Catholic. And so I had to go through all the catechism classes and all the things. And you don't read the Bible. They just tell you what you're supposed to know. If you ask questions, you are not okay. I learned young not to ask questions. That's definitely changed now.
I agree.
I ask lots of questions. But then my dad decided, after I went through catechism and all the things, that when I was like 11, 12, somewhere in there, that, nope, we're going Lutheran. So he helped start a church. There was someone going door to door to create a Lutheran church, and he goes, yep, that's what we're doing. So I had to go through all of the Lutheran schooling, because Catholic doesn't transfer. It's like one college to the other. The credits don't transfer.
Only a couple.
Yeah. So I had to go through all of the Lutheran schooling. There you did read a little bit more of the Bible, but it then was prefaced with, this is what this means. And again, you're not allowed to ask questions. So then I get older, and I ask questions. My parents get divorced, whatever. My dad finds the Lord in jail. Lots of different things here going on. But anyway, bottom line is, when I actually did meet my husband, I asked him questions because he grew up in a Christian family. And so by me asking him questions, he started going, oh, that's right. That's what the Bible says. Oops. And so we learned together, but we asked lots of questions. Today, if you ask questions in congregation, you ask your pastors, you ask anybody who has been in the church for a long time, anybody who's on the board, anybody who's an elder, you ask questions and say, well, this is how the church is run. This is what we do every day. This is what we do every week. But where is that scripturally? And they don't really have answers. And therefore, it's more, but make sure you tithe. And if you don't tithe, well, what are you going to do about that? Are you tithing your time then if you don't have money? There's always you have to do something. And that is not what Christ said. It is not about deeds. It is about your fruit. It is about your heart. Romans says it is specifically, it's not circumcision that makes you a Christian or that makes you saved. It is circumcision of the heart, period. It's what's in your heart. So if you look at a lot of the way the churches are built today, it's not about what your heart is. It's not about, are you changing? Are you growing? Did you make a mistake? And then, someone comes to you and says, hey, help me understand why you did that. Let's have a conversation. Matthew 18, let's talk about this. They just, they might be talking to the wrong people, or, they might just be having a bad day, and I'm going to go pray over here. Prayer is very important. It's very strong. It's very much needed. However, we have got to do this. People are not sitting down having real conversations and challenging people in their beliefs in the church. It is you go, you worship, you listen to the sermon, you tithe, you do churchy events, and then you go home. And that's it. That's it.
So
it is not the way that God created it.
Perfect. Before my awesome sister from a different mister over here goes, Patrick Hornick, you are watching and you're commenting. You're very active on the chat. We love that. Thank you. We encourage everyone to do that. But be careful how good you are, because now we're going to challenge you. We want you on the show. So you keep saying we keep stealing your lines. Well, you're going to have to prove it. So you're going to have to get with Aaron Walton. You're going to have to sign up, and you're going to have to sit next to your old friend here and talk some trash for a while. Dana.
Outreach at thewellnessway.com.
Outreach
for
at
everybody
thewellnessway.com.
who wants to be on.
Yes. Thank you, Dana.
Yeah, so I agreed with this statement. And, I mean, when you look at it inside of Christianity, there's like 45,000 different denominations, right? And everybody says that they are the ones who have the truth. So arguably, you can't all have the truth. Now, I think that maybe everybody I'm saying everybody loosely, but maybe, everybody inside of Christianity can agree on like a couple things. Like I think we can all agree that, Jesus Christ died on the cross for our sins and we're saved by grace through faith. But then everything after that seems to be, very debatable, but everybody also seems to think that how their church does it is the right way to do it. And that, I don't know, that's just, it's interesting to me because how do you know what the right way is, and how do you know what the truth is, and who gets to decide that, and who gets to make the rules about that? I mean, about, anything really. And I like what you said about, the church being a business. I don't know that it was really intended to be that. I understand that piece of it. I understand people needing to make money and provide for their families and things like that. Absolutely. But as we can see, sometimes money can ruin things in life. Not always. I love money too. But when we've brought it into when we've brought it into religion, and we worry too much about the pretty lights on the stage and having the right equipment and having all these fun things for kids, which I love all of. But is there too much of an emphasis on that? Is that really the way that we're supposed to worship? Is that really the way people are supposed to get together? Because it's, I think, really more supposed to be about a community of people coming together to worship their creator. And I think it's interesting because I want to hear from everybody else too about how you were brought up, because I was brought up totally different. And I now, as an adult and in my 30s, I try not to take for granted that, like, dang, I was brought up in a very small church of like 100 to 120 people. Okay. So not some big thing where there were hundreds of people, not multiple services, one service on a Sunday. Everybody knew each other. And these are like the purest people you have ever met, like down to their fridge broke and they don't have the money to replace it, and they're not sure what they're going to do, but they are genuinely, you can see in their eyes, because I know these people, you can see in their eyes, they're just so incredibly excited to see how the Lord will provide. And like, that's just like the attitudes that are there. And like, that's what I grew up around. Like, that was my norm. I didn't even know other things like this existed. And if people had money struggles, or when they just had their babies, or their car broke down, or they needed new tires, or there were people in the community who needed that, like the church that my parents go to, they still go to that one, but the one that I grew up in, they rallied around those people and they brought them the meals. And if they couldn't donate their money, they were buying some grocery, whatever, giving something from their pantry, or they were offering their babysitting services and things like that. And people at the church helped out my parents. So that's what's normal to me. And as I've gotten older, I've realized maybe I grew up in an exception to more of the rule of what's going on there. And I just never even knew until I got to my 30s, because I grew up in such a great place.
Mm-hmm.
I'll save me for last.
Why I disagree. So who is the God here that we're speaking of? Who is this God? What's its name? Do we have a name for this God? Which religion are we speaking of? Because they all function the same, right? Islam, Nation of Islam, which is different than Sunni and Shia. However, the mosques over in the Middle East function the same way. And I mean, they all function the same way because they follow the same God. Profit, money. So they are functioning in the way that they are supposed, that their God intended for them to function, which is to generate cash, to get a bunch of followers, to get a bunch of people to come in here, buy into this theory, and spend this money. Even in the Bible, there's a story about Jesus going into the temple, and the money changers are in there. Well, that's exactly what the church is. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that you have to go to church in order to reach salvation. Nowhere in the Quran does it say that people have to go to the mosque in order to receive Allah's blessing. Nowhere in the Torah does it state that they have to go to the temple in order to know Hashem. So where did this idea come from? The rabbis, the priests, the preachers. They said you got to come to church because I need you to come and get me this damn money, because money is the God. And that is the problem. I think I said this the first time I came on here. People don't know what they believe. And so since I'm a big person on history, I have done a lot of research on theology and just trying to understand, how did religions come to be? Not how did this religion come to be, just in general. How did we get these, right? What made people say, I need to believe in this higher power because I can't believe in myself, right? That's how I started this whole path of trying to understand this. What I discovered is that all of these things are based off of celestial beings in the sky. Literally, it's all based on celestial beings in the sky. This is the first gods of people. They don't know why the sun is there, but they do know that in the daytime, the sun represents illumination. And at night, the moon has something that it does to the water, and that's when things come out, and we need to stay away from the moon. That used to be the first thing. Then there was a group came and said, no, we're going to do the inverse. We're going to praise the moon, and that sun is something that we got to be careful about. And so then you started getting people who said, well, wait a minute. The sun provides agriculture. So there's a God that actually provides. So, okay, so now we have 3 gods, right? So if they made a church for each one of those gods, they would the pastor or the preacher in those churches, he's going to need people to follow him. He's going to need money. The church itself is designed to create cash. It's designed to have followers. So it is functioning in the way that its God intended. Its God is not Christ. He is the figure we are using to draw you in. That's not the God you're praising here. You're praising the pastor. Black church is a prime example of this. They don't care what that hold on. Forget black church. Let's go to Joel Osteen. Those people are not in there getting any Christian salvation because he's preaching the prophecy of what? Prosperity?
Prosperity gospel.
Oh, so they're in there getting what they pay for. They're learning about their God, who is prosperity. It's not Christ. When black people go to church, most of them that I hear, what they are doing, it's a show. They're going in there for the show of the church, not to hear about God. It's to see that preacher. It's to see what he's talking about. He's the God. I'm here to help him get money. They should all be outraged. When I hear things like, well, y'all, congregation, we gonna pray for Sister Gladys now. She been with us for 40 years. All the kids got raised here. She's suffering from the cancers, and we gonna pray for her. Man, you got a damn platinum ring on your finger. Take it off, put it go pawn it, and get Sister Gladys, who been coming here for 40 years, the money that she needs for chemotherapy. But are you gonna do that? No, because the religion is not about salvation. It's about prosperity. I'm here to make money, and I'm making my money. Now, y'all pray for Sister Gladys. Hopefully, Jesus, you'll help her figure out what you gotta do. But y'all make sure that collection plate come around. Help me with my prosperity. So I do think that the churches are functioning the way that their God has intended it. Whoever that God is, because that God is not Christ, it's not Allah, it's not Hashem, it's not Zoroaster, it's not these other, even the Church of Scientology. What is the Church of Scientology? It's a hodgepodge of religions. You can be whatever religion you want to be. You just got to follow the philosophy that we've set out and make sure you pay for your readings, pay for your clearings, pay for your books. And if you don't, you ain't got to pay for it. We'll put you on a credit system. And when you leave, we'll charge you because it's about the money. The church is about money. The religions are not. And that's something that's different.
Thank you.
Can we go back to energy? No.
Tough
I
act
don't
to
know how
follow.
that.
Yeah,
Because that's so
that's
good, and I
good.
actually learned a lot. And that was part of what I was going to say. Is first of all, I love that. That was exactly where I knew you were going to go with the disagree statement, which is why I was like, you should do it, because I can't articulate that. But my conditioning, my growing up is like, I look back at my childhood and I feel like church ruined every Wednesday night of my childhood. That's just how I look at it. It was awful. So since then, I've been just like, I've been going back to church for a few years. I'm trying to learn everything that I can, trying to have an open mind about everything. But I'm just collecting data. I'm trying to learn what all the things are. And what I see on social media is a whole bunch of people being like, nobody really saying like, this is how you should do it. It's a whole bunch of people saying, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. I'm like, wow, y'all are real judgy. So then that puts me off. Because I'm like, surely judging me because I'm out there. I'm out there on everything. Like, I have opinions and I speak about them. Try to only say things that I'm somewhat either strongly have a personal reason for saying or that I've studied or anything else, which I don't have about religion. But I'm just like taking it in. But my perception, because of my own personal experiences, is that it's like there's a lot of judgment around it. And like the social media, it's like what you were saying about like, are we supposed to be doing all this fancy music? Well, if it wasn't for the music, I gotta say, I don't know if I'd be there.
Right.
But then again, if I'm not there, like I'm reading a book right now, which has strengthened my relationship with God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit stronger than anything else ever has in my 38 years. And that didn't necessarily come for me from church, even though I feel like church provided me sort of like a little bit of a foundation for it. But to go back to the statement, I think all I need to say as far as how churches, to me, churches are supposed to stand for something. And they are supposed to stand for what they believe in, and it's supposed to be the truth. And we can argue about whether it's true or not, but if you stand up there and you say it, then you better freaking believe it, and you better stand by it. And what happened during COVID?
Right.
Oh, I'm going to
They
get to
all
that.
shut down.
I'm going to get to that.
And so to me, it's like, nope, you're doing it wrong. Because God knew people would be imperfect. So we could, that's where my thought was like, God didn't have a view of what the church was supposed to be because we have free will to some extent. And that if we're doing Jesus's plan, it'll all work out. But hello, COVID, like shutting down over lies. To me, that's like, whoa, what's going wrong here? Because it's no different than hospitals where there's good doctors, but the system's broken, so they can't help people if they tried. The pastors wanted to do differently, and they couldn't because the churches didn't let them. So to me, we're way off track right now.
That's good.
It's good.
Did I slam my hands again?
You made the
I could
motion.
not talk with my
Who
hands.
did that? Wasn't that like
Yeah.
wasn't that Mussolini back in the day? They were like,
I even do it in
Shaking
my
his
car.
hands,
I have
you know.
to drive with my niece so that I can. Dana has videos of it.
that's awesome. You're passionate. That's good.
Yeah.
We'll get you a stress ball so you can.
Kevin, you are last but not least.
To be honest with you, there's so many variations and opinions of the church. It's a very complex conversation, and it can go so many different ways. I just feel that the church has gone away from what it truly was supposed to stand for. And I've seen it in, all things I've gone through with friends in the Catholic Church and the cover-up. The cover-up is the worst thing in the world that's ever happened to the church, in my opinion. When you start covering up what the churches have covered up throughout the years, you've taken away the dignity and the honesty and the integrity of what it should be. And, like I said, we could have an argument in 1,000 different ways about the church and God and what he perceived church to be. But what it is what it is, and that's what we're living with, and that's what we're dealing with. And
Bingo.
that's my opinion on it.
Okay.
So I did want to answer Dana's question because you asked kind of how we were raised or what.
Oh, yeah.
And you say you wanted to hear everybody's opinion. Well, I was born and raised Catholic, went into a Catholic school all the way up through high school. After I became an adult, I actually stepped away. And now in the last year, I've been trying to find answers because, to tell you a personal story, 2 years ago, my dad got diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. He's still alive, but I've been trying to figure out why. I've been trying to find answers. I've been trying to find comfort. So I've been finding myself trying to go back, trying to hear the message in a different way, try to figure out this has got to mean something. So I'm just struggling looking for answers as I am trying to go back. So I don't know what I'm going to find yet. I'm very open to it. I'm going back to the Catholic Church, but it's just, I'm lost that way.
And that's okay. Because here's
and
the
that's
thing.
why I agreed with that statement, because I don't know what exactly God intended it to be. Is God testing me and my family right now? Because watching my dad go from the smartest man I ever met to literally be laying in a bed, can't even go to the bathroom by himself.
Jesus told us, he goes, in this world we'll find trouble, but take heart, he overcame the world. He did all the heavy lifting, but that means we're going to go through some shit. It's shit. It sucks. I mean, we can't beat the clock, and on the way, you're going to limp your way to the grave. You know what I mean? You can be as healthy as you want, and our family is very healthy. We follow the wellness way, and it's served us very well. But you're not prone to sickness. I had a horrible, parasite infection last year. It was hell on earth. It was the worst thing I ever went through. But you know what? God overcame the world through his son, Jesus. And, so with your dad going through that, my dad just went through it, and he kicked cancer's butt. Thank the Lord. I didn't think I'd see him at Christmas, but I thank the Lord for keeping him around for a little longer for me. So, but I'm going to segue, if you don't mind, into my answer. And, there's so many different denominations out there. And my wife and I, we went to a lot of churches, and we just to kind of fish around and just see what was good. And you see these people that sometimes they're very Holy Spirit heavy, very charismatic, and there's no control in the church. It's just kind of go with the flow. And then you get the other ones, where the Holy Spirit's only allowed in the room across the hall from the sanctuary, which is, don't even get me started. That was horrible. Anyways, and then you get the ones who follow the scripture right. And, we have a church that does that. We have a church, that has 2 pastors, an associate and a head pastor. They both have other jobs. So they earn their keep. They're not just sitting there taking our money, but they follow the Word of God. They follow the Bible, and he keeps it as best as he can as a human. And when he makes mistakes, he owns it. The one mistake that our church did, like was everybody else's, is they shut down, and that hurt. Because I think by that COVID statement, I think, you can call it, this is just my opinion. I think God tested the church by doing that. God can do multiple things at once. And I think that was one of them. He tested the church's backbone. And if anyone needed a chiropractor, segue, it was a church in 2020. And you know what? I might get backlash from that. I don't care. You know what? You were needed more than ever in that time. And I thank the Lord some people stuck around. But a lot of people, they reached down there and they found just a patchy thing of flesh. Their balls were removed and they got scared. They shut down for a year. Some of them figured it out and said, I ain't never doing that again. And they learned, and hopefully the next time something happens, they've learned their lesson. But you're right, 2020 showed their backbone, and it was horrible, and it was sad. That's one thing that I'm not pissed off about. But what I'm really pissed about is this. How is everyone's theology when it comes to the thief on the cross? How does your theology compare to that story? And just for those who don't understand, the thief on the cross, there was one to the left and the right. I can't remember who's who. Bad guy, good guy. This guy's tempting Jesus. You can fly away, or the angels will come swoop you up, whatever. You don't have to be here. You can get yourself out of this, for lack of better words. And the other one told him to leave him alone. He didn't do anything wrong. And he goes, what we did here, we earned our badge here. And he said, Jesus, remember me in your kingdom. And he said, truly I tell you, you will be with me in paradise on this day. Wait. He didn't have communion?
Wasn't baptized.
He didn't get baptized with water? He didn't receive the Holy Spirit? Mm-hmm. He didn't have to do a bunch of Hail Marys? I talked about this at your beautiful bride or daughters, and Dr. Lucas got married, and I got to talk about this because we got to get back to the basics. Mm-hmm. That guy didn't do anything but just believe. Mm-hmm. And then Jesus died moments later, and he said, it is finished. Okay? So here we all are. I'm guilty as everybody else. I go to church sometimes, and I try to check the box for the attendance, and I feel better about myself, especially by my previous church. I do feel a good, healthy conviction to get there to my current church. We've been there for about 5 years, whatever it's been, because it's actually edifying. Our pastor's phenomenal. But we have to remember, we sit here and we put, but wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. And wait, so it's not just about Jesus and believing in his death, his resurrection. It's, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to have an attendance. I got to get circumcised. Whatever it is, who knows? We got so many denominations. Who knows what's the expectation of all of them? That has nothing to do with Jesus. And that's why I believe that our church of today is not what God intended it to be. It's because we're adding a bunch of humanism things. You know who did that last? That we know in history? The Pharisees and the Sadducees. Mm-hmm. And Jesus called them out constantly. Yep. Constantly. He told us to be like children, not like them. And if you look at our churches today, we are acting like Pharisees.
But the church is functioning the way that it's supposed to.
True.
Even in that story, the church is functioning the way it's supposed to.
Jesus had money, and sometimes he showed off. He told one of his disciples to go to the lake and go pull out a fish, and he'll find a denarii, whatever it's called, denarius, whatever it's called, the coin back then. They needed money to survive. He didn't just walk around floating the whole time. They needed to make money. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the Apostle Paul, even the next one, he was a tent maker. He had a job. You just don't hear about that. That's not sexy. We want to hear about how to get better, right? But so, you know what? It's important to understand the meat and potatoes, the blocking and tackling of Christianity, and it's Jesus. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. And the church has got it wrong because you're right. They want to make money and they want to keep people around. I want to be edified and I want to live my life. I don't want to show up to church and feel good about myself and then be an asshole the rest of the week. That's hypocritical. That's no different than the Pharisees. So church is not doing its job overall. Okay, I believe our church is the exception minus the 2020 debacle. I believe our church is the exception, but the other churches, a lot of them that we went to, are not doing consistently, and they're consistently getting worse. You got something to say? I can just
I do.
feel
I have three things.
The temperatures
Yeah.
over here.
I have three things. No, I got it. The first thing is, if you believe in your God, then your God did not test the churches. He tested you. He showed you that place is not my place. That's man's place. So you think he tested the church. You think he tested the devil. He tested you.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted you to see that's not my place. My place is here. So you don't need to go there.
Mm-hmm.
You got me. That's the one thing that people don't get about all those religions. All of the religions of the Abrahamic religions, they all preach the same thing. You don't have to congregate. You can believe in me through your own belief in me. Find me through you, right? Mm-hmm. That's what it says. Jesus says, I am the way, right? I live in you. So then same thing with Allah. Allah says to Muhammad, I live in you and I live in the adherents of you. I live in those who follow me. I'm not, you can't get me by going over to that mosque and talking to those people over there. You get me by following my word. Same thing. All these religions preach the same thing. I believe that God was testing the people who follow him. Whatever the God may be, testing you. And all of you all failed. Because all of you all said, but the church. No, but God. Mm-hmm. And all of you all failed. That's the first one. The second thing, so like I said, I'm big into history. Mm-hmm. So we talk about Christianity, right? And how it all got started. So you have a whole history of the Christians that has been documented by tons of Herodotus, St. Ignatius, you have Eusebius, you have, I'm about to show how much of a nerd I am. So you have all these people who have Galatius, you have Pope Gregory, you have all these people who have studied this story. And the problem is there's an issue here because you got a Constantine, you have a Council of Nicaea, you have a Council of Trent, you have all these councils that make up the religion. They're literally making up the religion. Now there's Christians, there were Christian sects, there were 23 different sects at the Council of Nicaea. They kicked one man out, his name was Arius. So Arius and all the Arians ended up being in Estonia. And that's where all your Arians are. And they don't believe that Jesus did miracles. But everybody else who agreed that he did miracles, you got to stay. Already, your religion has a problem. It's got a problem. We got a problem with the religion. How are you going to kick one person out? So Jesus didn't want this view being seen. He was like, no, I don't want that. So only the ones that Constantine chose. And then it changes again because you got to get a group that creates Mary so she can become the venerated one. That's where you get the Islam from Raruka. Raruka is Khadijah's. I don't know if you all know Islam, but Muhammad has to go marry a woman. Her name is Khadijah. Khadijah is 40 years old. Muhammad is about 19, 20. She marries him. She takes him out on the first date. Ain't that some shit?
Who paid?
She did.
Okay.
Because her husband had died and she was a widower and she had a bunch of money because he was a merchant. She then tells Muhammad, come with me into the cave and I will show you something. I don't know. I think she showed him. I think she showed it to him. And we'll get to that in a moment too about that whole thing because I think that what she showed him was the Holy Grail, which is the vagina, which is the woman's ovaries and her insides. That is the Holy Grail. And so what she told him is that, however, I can't be with you until you go with my cousin. Raruka is a member of a Catholic tribe. So you got Catholicism in this story. Now Catholicism is coming. Do you all know this about Islam? You all ever heard this? This is the true story of how this becomes. Raruka then takes Muhammad on a pilgrimage where they learn about the veneration of woman, Ishtar. And so Ishtar is associated with Mary. And so he comes back and he says, oh my God, I saw the crescent moon and the star, which is Venus. And he says, that is God. That's Allah. That's Allah. I saw it. Khadijah says, you did. Interestingly, the Pope in the 13th century venerates the Black Madonna as Fatima, who is Muhammad and Khadija's daughter. So there's a connection between Catholicism and Islam. What is this religion then? What are these? Why aren't Islamic people going to the Pope? Why do they need to go to an imam? Because they don't know what they're doing. Because even in our life, even in Islam, it doesn't say you got to go to this mosque. It's in here. See, they all confused. So right now, you got Hispanic people, Mexicans running around calling themselves a young Mexican girl. Fatima is a name in Mexican culture that is very prominent. You know why? Because they don't know that most of the Spaniards were Moors. They were Muslims. They came over, and that's what they taught those people. You will be a mixture of Catholic, Muslim, and some Christianity. We'll sprinkle that in there. And some of you all may be a little Jew. Then you get that, the Jewish people. So they have this religion that exists, that has been existing for approximately 6,000 supposedly years. However, it starts off with Egyptian culture. So what is the religion? Is it Horus? What is their church? What is the temple? Solomon, right? Solomon is the son of David. Solomon comes from Bathsheba. Bathsheba was raped. This is the religion that we want to praise? David raped her. So is this what we want to be praising? This is the church that we want to praise?
He did worse. He killed the
sure
husband too.
Yeah. He sure did. He killed the husband, and he may have had a homosexual relationship with Jonathan when he was a little boy. So there's some pedophilia going on here too. Prior to that, you have some other things going on in this story. The showing you how women are deceitful with the story of Ishmael and Isaac, with the story of Jacob and Esau. You have women being deceitful. So what is this? What is this story saying? The entire Torah is about women being deceitful. I don't believe that women are naturally deceitful. The Torah tells me that they are. Is that the church? Should the church be teaching that? But it doesn't. The church teaches you, give me some money, and I'll tell you what you need to hear. Mm-hmm. That's the purpose of the church. The church's God is prosperity. That's the purpose of the church. So when I hear things like God was testing the church, I felt like, man, that's interesting. Because he tested you. You don't want to accept that because it's better to put it on the church. God tested you.
But did the church close up or did I close it up?
You closed your heart to God because instead of you believing that God will see you through this problem, you looked for the church to see you through this problem.
Oh, we saw through the problem.
Good.
But the church closed.
The church, you didn't need the church. The church has never been your salvation. It's God.
True. But but the question though is the church of today is not what God intended. So
because that God is the God of prosperity. That is what that God intended. Your God never intended for the church to ever. You think that the God of Catholicism, who would be Christ, you think Christ said, I'm okay with indulgences. I'm okay with you allowing people to come and they can pay off their sins. That was what they were doing in the 14th century. That's how you get a Reformation unit. That's how you get John Wycliffe. That's how you get a Martin Luther. You don't get that without that stuff going on. So there's a history. And if people understand the history, then they'll be able to say, you're right. The church has always been what it's been. It's been about making money. Mm-hmm. So the church is about making money. The religion is not. The religion is about you and your connection with the higher power.
But I don't even need church for that.
You don't. You don't, not at all. That's what I'm saying.
So is it fair to say the church should be teaching about that you don't need me?
The church, you shouldn't even be going to church to get a lesson because the church is not there to teach you. They're there to make money off of you. Did the store teach you anything? Do you go to Burger King and they give you information? Do you go to Burger King and the person's going to say, hey.
They tell you the specials.
The specials ain't good for you. The specials ain't good for you. It's the same thing how, look, the church will tell you the specials too. Sunday night we having chicken dinner.
Saturday is the youth group.
That's right. So it's got specials too, but it's not good for you. It's not. The church is not your salvation. Your God is. That's your salvation. The church is making money off of your belief. So they are. So the God of the church is exactly doing what it is supposed to do because it's always been doing it. It never has stopped.
You got a thought?
Just because, and I don't understand that, it's more of a question, but the church is Christ's bride. What does that mean? And where does that come in? Because then you say, okay, people needed to lean into community during COVID more than I'm stuck on the COVID thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. So my dad
decided to have his own church service outside because, again, we don't really leave the church. So it's a vocabulary lesson at that point. Let's just take the word church out of it and say we were upset that we couldn't get together on Sunday mornings like we usually did to try to be good at whatever it is that we're trying to be good at. And so my dad got a stage and a sound system, and I sang, and he did what he could do, and he talked to the pastor about it to get their blessing about what he could and couldn't say or couldn't do, and we just did it during lockdowns, during everything. So, but we don't have to call it.
You got to get a blessing.
That's what I'm saying.
You got to get a blessing.
Well,
Wait, hold on. Did God bless him? He had to get a blessing from another man?
I agree with you.
So a man had to give another man a blessing to get it. So God had to give that man the blessing. So it's an intermediary with God. You can't go straight to him.
Well, because the conditioning says you're going to piss people off around here.
Who cares?
So this is, I am with you. I agree with you completely. When you live in a small town and you're trying to tiptoe a little bit because the pastors want to be open, but they're not open. And so we're just going to go do our own thing. But if you take the word church out of the equation, we were just going and doing what we wanted to do. So like, that's good. And at the end of the day, like my dad went to who he trusted and did the best that he felt like he could do. And at least he freaking did something in that time. So I do think it's like, it was important. So whether the church, if the church is, I want to explore the church as Christ's bride more thing, because like what is the intention? We can all agree or disagree that we're off track, but like, what was the idea? So like the make money thing, but is that what the Bible, like that's the inference. What's the literal translation? Because I feel like people with the Bible like to be very literal.
There is no talk about the church in the Bible.
That's what I'm asking. So like, what is it about that makes people go? Is it conditioning?
It's what people think that they have to do in order to receive salvation. They believe that they have to congregate together. They don't. No, none of these religions say you have to come together. You can find God it clearly states God lives in you. So and I don't understand how everybody has their own personal connection with God, but they need to come together to pray, to come to get salvation.
If a new age person says God lives within you, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But if you say it, we're like,
now it's okay.
Well, it's in the Bible. It says it in the Bible. It says it in the Quran. These books clearly state that God lives inside of you.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you from a personal perspective. I'm just saying the literal translation is lost then, because if I say that, people are like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, that's if they know your new age. If they don't know your new age, then you might be okay.
Right. Well, I mean, that goes along with the whole pharma. What was Travis? You
Witchcraft.
figured out the Greek translation is what?
Witchcraft.
Witchcraft. Right. So, to your point with the whole translation, there are words now that are written in Bibles that make it easy to read. I will say I love my NLT because it gives it to me straight. However, I also know that I need to go to people who have gone and did significant studies in all of the versions, the books, the Greek translation, like
Hebrew and all that.
Hebrew, all of those things. And so we are blessed that we have a very close friend who literally has her PhD in apologetics, and to where she can defend the Bible and the faith on any aspect. You name it, on science, you name it, on
It was expected of her
like
to defend the Bible and her faith through any avenue of life.
Any means
and
necessary.
it was pretty
So-
intense. You actually might like that. Like it's a lot of history.
Yeah. So we're very blessed, because I agree with what you're saying, is that each religion is saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. But in the bottom of all of that is Christianity is the relationship with Christ, period. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What he said earlier was it's all of the things that are added to it by the humans, us, or like we interpret it that way. That's why a lot of the translations are good, but we need to be better at fact checking and going to, is that word really what that means? Mm-hmm. Like, thou shalt not kill. That's not what the original translation was. The original translation is thou shalt not murder. Mm-hmm. So everyone who thinks that, if you go to war, you are sinning.
Right.
No.
It's murder was the word. If you go and you intentionally just kill somebody, that's murder. That's wrong. If you are defending yourself, that is not a sin. That's not murder. So, but no matter what, the bottom line is, and you said it several times when you're talking about the different religions, religion says you need to do this, 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 and this, and all the things, and you have to go to church, and you have to pay this, and you've got to do other things. Like I said, when I grew up with Catholic and Lutheran, both of them said the same thing. Don't ask questions, pay your money, do what I ask you to do, and we'll be good. But you have to have a relationship with Christ, period. That's the bottom line. He lives in you.
Do you guys think that? Good take, by the way. I have to say that you're my wife. Make me a sandwich. Just kidding. That actually was a really good take. I appreciate that. Is it fair to say, agree? You know what? Agree or disagree? All these do's and don'ts of church that have been added to, we'll just use Christianity for this one, right? Is it fair to say that all the do's and don'ts added to the church has caused people to walk away from it because it's almost impossible? It's a turnoff. There's some Jesus in there, but he's the gooey center, and you gotta he's that jawbreaker. You gotta fight through and chew and
it's not that it's hard; it's that it's confusing.
Yeah. Bingo. Yeah.
Right.
You guys, it's the problem that people always have, including myself, every single day. How do I earn my way? No. Jesus did that, but my heart's changed because I believe in that, and therefore I do good because that's what He'd want me to do, not because I have to get to Him. And I think people have that mixed up, and when they can't figure that out, the do's and don'ts just add up. And I used to be a youth pastor, and I used to tell the kids, I had a kid go to the front, and I gave him a chair. It's a full chair, like the one you see over there. And then I gave him another one. And I gave him another one. And eventually he started sweating, getting heavy, right? There's 10 now on his arms, right? He's a strong kid. But my point is this. At some point, we're all going to break. We're just going to break. We're sick and tired of it. I can't hold all this. I can't keep doing this. And therefore, if you find yourself in that situation, you're probably finding yourself, you got a backwards religion. You got a backwards faith. It might be your church, it might be your mindset, it might be your trauma, all the things put together, whatever, but something's screwed up, and you got to figure that out. Otherwise, people are just keep walking away because they're not figuring it out, and I don't think the churches are really explaining that well.
Well, I don't understand this about Christianity. Why even go to church? Aren't you all Jewish?
I don't.
Shouldn't you all just be Jews? I mean, what was Christ? Was he a Christian?
Well, he was the founder of it.
No, he's not. Paul is. So what is Christ?
But without Jesus, Paul can't depict what it is.
No, what is Christ?
Christ is our Lord and Savior.
No, what is his religion?
He is God.
No,
He
he's
doesn't
not
have a religion.
God. His religion is not I'm God. He never says I'm God. What is Christ's
I
religion?
am the way, the truth, and the light.
No, Christ is a Jew because he practices Passover, does he not?
Don't know. I never met him.
Yeah, he practices Passover. When he's in the Garden of Gethsemane, there's a Passover feast. He has a Passover.
Yeah, but he also did a lot of things in the Sabbath. He didn't always follow the rules.
So what is Christ's religion?
There is no religion.
Jesus is God. He is the one that
It's not religion.
I guess he's the founder and CEO. How's that?
What?
If we're talking about words, if we're
No.
But religion, there isn't a religion. Religion is man-made.
Right.
Period.
Right. That's true.
Yes.
Paul made the religion of Christ. Because Paul's epistles tell you the ways of Christianity.
Yes.
Christ tells you the ways to live like him. Paul creates Christianity.
But who talked to Paul?
No, not who talked to Paul. Paul he came up with his own theories. And a lot of those epistles, that's his own stuff.
But who talked to Paul? Who set him on that track, on that foot?
We could say Christ, but I don't know if that's the truth. All I know is that Christ had 12 disciples. Okay? Paul is one of them, correct? No, Paul. No. Paul.
Judas.
Paul is one. This is Paul's. This is
Christian.
right. This is Saint Paul. This is a different one. Yeah. That's right. This is a different one. So this guy is not even a part of this. So how did Christ talk to him? When did he talk to him? When was that portion of the Bible written?
When he was persecuting, when he was heading to Damascus, I believe.
Yeah,
and
Paul
he
didn't
got
create
kicked him off the horse.
But he does create Christianity because there is no Christianity in Roman times. There's no Christianity until after the AD. And then it has to be created. Somebody has to create this religion. It doesn't just form itself.
See, but I don't like the word religion. That's where I keep getting caught.
But it is a religion. I mean, let's be honest here. It's a religion. Because if it's not a religion, then it's a cult. So which one is it?
Mine's
Well,
faith.
well,
I
it's
have a
either
faith.
energy, vibes, or chakra.
No, God would be the energy, vibe, or chakra. The chakra would come from God.
Okay.
But the religion is the formalized praising of this person through these rules. That is the formalized.
That's where I agree with you that the church today is not the way that God intended it, because it should not be a religion. It should not be based off of you have to do this
Right.
in order to get this.
You know what?
Period.
You're right.
You need to have him in your heart. Period. Therefore, what Travis said earlier is that no matter what, if you are seeking Christ every day with every decision, the moment you wake up, the moment you go to bed, all those things, he's in your heart. Therefore, you will feel the energies. You will feel what you are supposed to do. You will feel that conviction when you know you're doing something wrong. Therefore, you will know what to do and not to do. I agree with you that you don't have to go to church in order to have salvation or to feel that you are fulfilling what God wants you to do. You don't. I talk to God all day long, all day. I have to. I've lived the life where you only talk to him at church. It sucked. It's not real. It is not real. It's a fabricated, made up thing. So it's human. That's where religion comes from. That's why we have so many different religions, because it's what people, your church, like it's a smaller church. Our church is a smaller church. I really feel like that's really good. But it was a smaller church, and you have like-minded people. Well, that's how religions are formed. You have
Right.
like-minded people.
Cults.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, when I gave my life
Right.
to Christ and I did not continue
Drink
to
the
do the
Kool-Aid.
things that I did, my family thought I was in a cult, because
Right.
they're like, excuse me, I've never heard you talk to me like that before. I'm sorry, I'm not allowed you to be that way to me. I have boundaries. Respect. No. No is an okay word. We've talked about
Boundaries.
this. No is good. But if you have religion and that's what you have is solely religion, you are going to be confused. You are not going to understand. You are going to be seeking, looking, trying to fill holes, trying to make understanding of things and all of it. And that's where these people get into the fads of the chakras, try to make me
Right.
feel better, help me understand.
Right.
But the bottom line is, if you don't have Christ in your heart, God, you have religion.
Right.
So here's why I want to bring it back. We have faith, and that's what Jesus designed us to have. In
I
a
like
lot of the
faith
do's.
better than religion.
Yeah.
So is Christianity a religion then?
So
It is.
well, it depends on your heart, because if
Yeah.
you go into Galatians, you'll find out that Paul will teach people to do something a certain way, and it's about the heart, like you said, the heart. And then he leaves for probably back then, I'm thinking weeks, but really it's probably years, whatever comes back, and who's bewitched you? Like we just went over this, and you're already adding circumcision back in, and this, and like you said, like
Right.
now we're now throwing variables in there that don't matter. They don't bring it back to Christ. But what I really want to get back to is all right. So what is our faith? Our faith is and this goes back to the church too. And the main question, it's Jesus told us to love our wives like Christ loves the church. Okay, so we go. What the heck is
Church's
love?
bride thing. Got it.
What the heck is love?
That's you.
That's right.
What is love, right? So we got to understand what love is. So love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, loves, or always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres, and goes to church on Sunday. No, it doesn't say that one. Okay, my point is this. So
there it is.
Here's the thing. Here's my summary of this, and you can spin on this. It's fine. So here's the thing. Do we need to go to church? No or no?
No.
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Is it okay to want to go? Because
Yes.
if you have a good, if you have a healthy church,
Well-
that's preaching the gospel of Christ the right way. You should want to go to that church. It's good. It's edifying. It's wonderful when they do it right. They shouldn't be preaching tithe. Jeepers, I can't even tell you the last time our church told us to tithe. They'd have to pass the baskets around, but they never say anything about it. They just, up to you. Or sometimes they'll even forget and they'll leave it at the front door. I'm serious. But what I'm pointing is, the church, it's a wonderful opportunity for people, if it's done the right way, to find Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But it's become a business. And I know you said that was your stance, but it's become more, I think, too much of a business. I just looked it up while you were talking. Joel Osteen actually makes $50 million.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Damn.
Wow. 50 million.
Ugh, that's scary. So I want to get back to this. This is what I really wanted to dump onto this topic is just, we need to get back to Jesus. We need to get back to love. And when you do those things, guess what? things weird seemingly just get better. It's just
Love
it's
is a
amazing.
really high vibration.
Well, I just think it's like even now today, right? We have this situation going on right now in Israel, right? And I always think back to these are two Abrahamic religions. They are supposed to be brothers, and they're fighting. And why are they fighting? Because one group is not a religion. It's a political theory about moving people elsewhere, and they're using the religion to justify their reasoning for being where they are. Then another group is not even fully following Islam. It's just doing terrorist activity, mostly because it was made to be a terrorist group. And it's utilizing the religion to say, this is why we should do it. Yeah. And so now you have these groups that are utilizing these religions, and they're even saying this: we want to bring America into this because they're Christians. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to create this trifecta fight where it's all three of these different Abrahamic religions are going to destroy each other. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is amazing because all these religions preach the same philosophy. Mm-hmm. And they're acting like it's different. But I guess today it is because church it's been blended in with other ideas that don't make sense. There's Sufism in Islam, which is the mystic version of Islam. There's Kabbalism in Judaism, which is the mystic version of Judaism. There's also mystic Christianity. There's some mystic version of this where you can follow a version. Then you have those who claim to be, I'm a Christian, but I'm spiritual. So I'm spiritual and I follow some of the tenets of Christianity, but I don't follow all that stuff. I don't need to follow everything in that Bible.
That's where I think that
bridges.
I feel really attacked too, right?
Oh.
But that's true though. But that's true. It leans. Then it ends up leaning into I'm spiritual.
Right.
I have the Holy Spirit. I just feel everything.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Well, yes, people feel things, but what does that mean?
Right.
So is it that you can, there's multiple ways to come to this, okay? So the church is one. And whether we agree on energy and vibrations or not, I think we can agree that some people are simple and some people are a little more complex. And I think that the church probably isn't failing simple people as much as it's failing complicated people. And so when I say something like, this sits well in my soul and this feels more right to me, that's like my more complicated version of trying to find my way because I'm not what they're saying in church. And one of my best friends has to remind me all the time, like, Alex, they're not really talking to you. Like, because I nitpick and I fucking hate nitpickers. And I'm doing it all the time in church because I'm like, because I have a lot of questions about it. But when I just think that the church has its ways, and if you understand that, you understand that. But if you don't, and I'm over here and you don't understand me, I don't know anything what you guys just said. I won't put you in my pocket because I don't know any of this. And then Dana would probably be happy because I'd text her a lot less. Like, what is this? But I don't understand it, so I'm trying to learn. And so but the feeling thing, it feels like that's off limits because it's like, now you're trying to have your own powers. Like, no, I'm not. Still just trying to figure it out. Does that make sense?
It does. And here's the deal. We're all trying to
feel
figure
God.
it out. And the people that are trying to figure it out already missed the mark. He figured it out. We just have to put faith in it. And when you do that, you know what? The church is supposed to be preaching that. It's not. I'll stand up for mine. Ours is damn good. But I'll tell you what, I've been to a lot of churches where they're not, and people get confused. And I think, here's an example, people always go to the do's and don'ts. Although I lose, my flesh loses sometimes. You know what? My flesh normally wins. Why? Because I believe in him more than my flesh. But I understand the belief of faith over do's and don'ts. And a lot of people don't do that. And I can't tell you the last time besides our church where they preached it. I watched a lot of stuff online. We went to church for many years before us. And I'm not knocking them, but I am at the same time because they need to do better. Because a lot of people are lost. It's just a free-for-all out there, and it's horrible. And people don't know which way's up when it comes to their faith.
I think from
and
the
therefore it is a
perspective,
religion.
If you could just simplify it down to what you're saying, I have that part figured out. When I say try to figure it out, it's so I've seen just over 4,000 clients in my 10 years of doing this. And I can't tell you how many of them sit in the corner in the chair and they kind of lean back and they literally grill me about, am I Christian enough to help them with their health. And I'm like, do you do this to your dentist? I'm going to push on your arm. It's reflex. Do you ask why your pupils dilated? Are you mad about it? And so when we have to have the conversation of like, am I Christian enough to be doing what I'm doing? That's where my personal defensiveness, because I'm not perfect and I take some things personally, especially when I'm passionate about them, is like, how do I talk to those people?
Well, let me ask you this. Let's go back to the filter. Okay? What does the word say?
I don't know.
Were you doing it out of love?
Yes.
So you were rejoicing in truth, right? That's the
Yes.
first one, love. So you were telling the truth to them, to the best of your knowledge, with your skill set. Were you being joy? Did you have joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control?
Yes.
So they were the ones that didn't have the self-control if they're being all snarky towards you, right?
Right.
So who's holding the fruit?
Right. So how do I bring them on that journey? Because that's what we're supposed to do, right? To
Sometimes
say,
in life, though,
You don't
well,
get
like right now,
Yeah.
like you're gonna. Sometime we're gonna have somebody in here who is far left, and we are not going to convince them. And that's not
Yeah.
that's not the
the
purpose.
Right.
My point is,
It
we
should be. Those people are bad.
True. I mean,
Demon rat.
they're hurting society, but that's a whole other conversation. But my point is this: sometimes we are the seed planter.
Right.
Sometimes we are the fertilizer. Sometimes we are the water. And then sometimes, in Erin Walton, with her kind, loving heart, hears the Lord prick her heart and say, talk to that person, and she reaps the harvest. And that's what it's about. Doc, I call him a kook, crazy in 1999. I was the kook in 2013. It took me a while, but that was my seed planting moment. And it took a long, prideful time for that stubborn plant to finally take root. So when people like that, when they do the stuff like that, you should see what Doc gets. It's insane. And he's taught me so quick, and I will brag about him. This guy, he gets knocked on left and right all the freaking time. And he just rolls it off. He goes, good, I'm getting to them. He had a lady that was 8 years watching him out of hate and despise, just bitterness.
That's awesome. That's
and
a true fan.
I know.
A true fan.
I don't think
you're doing the
I don't
right
think
thing
she was
when
the
you
only
got that.
fan.
True fan.
But all of a sudden she messaged him last year. We had a weekly connect, and it actually might have been even earlier this year. And he showed the message and said, "Hey, I hated you. I want to hate you, but I can't. You're right. I'm gonna make an appointment." And it's like, but that seed took 8 years.
I don't think that
Yeah.
she ever really hated him. What I think is that she was against what he was saying, but she's in the back of her mind, she was skeptical of her own disbelief. She didn't believe her own disbelief.
It's true, and that happens all the time.
Because come on, if you hate something, you're not gonna linger around it. I hate onions. I ain't lingering around no damn onions for 8 minutes.
Just to see if they're
Okay,
Right.
we ain't playing around. I'm just to see if I'm gonna like them someday. No, I don't like them. To hell with onions.
We'll work on that.
But so that means that in the back of her mind, she was like, well, I don't know if this is true or not. I just don't like. She may not have liked his approach. She may not have liked what he was saying. But it was
How he said
something
it.
that she was like, I don't know.
I'll tell you what.
Or maybe she did like it. Maybe she was like, I don't like his. I like how he looks, but I don't like what he's saying. You never know.
I'll tell you what. A lot of it has to do with a lot of people aren't ready to have the rug pulled off from underneath them, and that could be your church, be finding out the truth about your church or what they're not doing or are doing, whatever. But people can't handle that. Like when it comes to your way of helping people, that's a rug. Happens here at the Wellness Way all the time. People come in here and they're like, I got a what? I mean, I got a brother, God bless him, love him. He still makes fun of me. You putting essential oils on your salad? I mean,
Literally, he says that.
maybe basil. I'm just kidding. No, my point is,
I was gonna say no oregano.
it burns after a while. It gets the gut real good.
Essential oils are
But you're
strong.
actually taking the rug out from underneath them, so it's really not rejection towards you. I'm getting a little off topic, but that's okay. That's what this is for. They're not ready to replace their belief system.
I can handle all the rejection around like all the things, and I think the fact is that I have so much respect for because I don't understand all the ins and outs of their religion, the do's and don'ts and everything, and I respect these people. So then I'm like, why are you not sort of like offering me the same professional whatever? But then I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm a pioneer in what I'm doing, and someday it'll speak for itself. Today's not that day. I don't let people come in and sit and be like rude to me. I'm like, it's not your time. And they're like, well, I'm here. I'm like, but we have to both agree. And I don't. So I'm pretty like strong in those boundaries and stuff. And I think that it just comes back to the like how are we all doing this? What is it supposed to look like? I do respect these people, so I'm trying to bring them on a journey, but it's not going to be all of them, and I appreciate that perspective. Is like, I'm unapologetic in like 99% of my life, except for when it comes to this like unknown judgment, fear of judgment factor around Christians. That's where I start to all of a sudden have these like, am I doing it right?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's two handsome men back there, and we're getting a little close to the end here. So, anything you guys want to share on that? I mean, we went way off the rails a little bit, but I love that.
Lots of things.
Doc does too. It's great. It's fun. It's why I'm here.
I could listen to Lorenzo talk for about 3 hours straight. I swear to God. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
just
Got a lot
literally
of-
preach, man, preach on that one. So.
Random talk radio.
Yep.
No, it's
Oh,
not.
yeah.
How dare you?
Did I get it
It
wrong?
would never be random talk radio.
I thought you said
now
it
you
was
just gave gave
Damn.
some white man named
Random
Larry.
radio.
Larson,
No random.
Larson
Wait, is it
Temeski is
just
now about
random
to get a
radio?
bunch of damn videos.
Hey,
Just
Larson.
random radio? Is it just random radio? Did I get it wrong?
It's random things you need to know. Damn. But it is random radio. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you type
it's
in
random
random
radio.
radio.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was close.
Well, you know, this is interesting because the episode that will be out tomorrow is about British Israelism. That's why I brought it up.
I'll watch it.
So,
Will I be talking like this, mate, at the end? Or is that more
it's all
Australian?
about how there is a idea this is real. This is not fake. And I'll tell you the religions that come from it, and they involve Christ. So British Israelism is the idea that the Israelites, after Judah and Benjamin and Levi went into Judah, that the Sumerians left and went to Assyria, and then they went into Europe. And then they dispersed themselves throughout Europe, and the tribe of Dan is Denmark, and the tribe of Reuben is France, and the tribe of, I believe, Ephraim is Britain, and Manasseh, so this is Joseph. Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, would be Britain and America. And the covenant is with Israel, not with Judah. So therefore, the British and Americans are special, which means that white people are special. And so from this religion, from this theory,
What kind of special?
that you have the blessing, the everlasting blessing of Hashem.
Huh.
Because you all are true Jews. The true Jews are not the Jews. This is British Israelism. This is not my theory. This is British Israelism. So,
You're just reporting on the facts.
somebody black comes on and be like, "Oh, this motherfucker talking about white folks." No, I'm not saying that. But from this,
Read the fine print.
but from this religion, you get Mormonism, you get Pentecostalism. So you get these very, very strict these very strict Christian views, these very strict Christian denominations, but they're based off of this idea that white people come from the Israelites, and that the Israelites made all these white European people, and they are God's chosen people, not the Jews. Never could it be blacks, because we weren't chosen by nobody, but white people to be, I guess, slaves. And so, because they were chosen. So maybe we're chosen too, I don't know. Either way, but by British Israelism, they're saying that white people are chosen, especially in Britain and America, because of this theory. This is just racism. It's just nonsense. It sounds crazy when you
And
actually...
this goes back to what we just talked about earlier, where you get humans' opinions on all of the different genres of life and whatever, and their history of, I went through Catholic, I went through Lutheran, and then I didn't know what to believe, and I hated all of it because I was forced by my dad to go here, my mom to go here, and then I didn't want to piss her off or him off, so then I just did that, and then I went, you know what, I'm out. And then I did nothing. And then, yeah, it turns into what best suits me. Mm-hmm. And that's where, I feel like with some of your patients, where they're coming in going, are you Christian enough? I feel like it's a doubt. They don't have a true solid, in my opinion. Anybody who's asking somebody else that claims to be a Christian that are you Christian enough? They're not Christian enough.
Yep.
That's a hole they have, because I've been there. I said, yep, I'm a Christian. I had no idea what I was getting into. And that sounds bad, but it's not. I had no idea that what I would have to die to in order to really let let Christ lead my life. the things that I had to let go of, do people like me? Do people care? What's their opinions? Do I look good enough? But, do I speak well enough? Like, all of that doubt, that self-worth issues is all because I never really laid my life down for Christ. I never did until I did. And then I was like, holy crap, this is great.
Did you lay your life down for the Christ of British Israelism? Because you are white, so I'm hoping that that's what you did. Because
I missed the
I don't
mark
want
on
I don't
that
want
one.
you to go against the British Israelism.
White men, you said, not white women.
No, white women because
White women
because you
count
come
too.
from the white.
I know.
Somebody has to make the white.
I
men,
missed
so.
that mark. Nope, I did not read the fine print on that. Nope, I did not. I did not read the excerpts of the injection of what's all. No.
Yeah.
What do you guys got in the back there? I'm gonna wrap this up. This is awesome. This has been great. We're getting a little late, but I want to hear from you guys before we do final chats. Or do you want me to do you want to do your final thoughts now, or you know what? The idea is for all of us to talk, and obviously you guys have been pretty chill back there, looking all buff and accomplished.
I mean, I learned a lot, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an experience.
What would
This
you?
gentleman here, he is a book of knowledge. And I'm gonna have to go back and watch his show 50 times
So you
to
could
catch a
understand.
quarter of what I learned from him tonight.
Can you picture him on a marker board like Lombardi?
Absolutely.
We got over here the mosque, and over here and here, and then a seal here, and we gotta go up the alley to the Jerusalem, and
I can send you an actual video that'll the guy will lay it all out. He'll outline it all out for you. I'll show you
I
where.
mean, you are a book of knowledge.
You know what?
I've been around a long time, but
You know
you
what?
are top notch on book of knowledge, my friend.
You know what though? The lady with the PhD, or I don't want to.
Michelle.
Michelle. I won't use her last name, but Michelle has taught me something: to learn from people who have knowledge. It doesn't matter if it doesn't go in alignment with your
If you
faith.
don't listen, you'll never learn.
Bingo.
Right.
You know what? And it actually,
mean
you
you
know,
have
it
to agree.
strengthens my faith more when I learn. I learn history. I learn all these things. I mean, it's a whole other conversation. But thank you for being on the show today. We appreciate it. Would you like to go next?
Sure. I love this. Thank you.
Yeah.
For bringing us on. I love that tonight not only did we have the topics, but we also disagreed on the rules, because the rule is that we talk about the rules and not the exceptions, and we couldn't even agree on what the rules and exceptions were. And that's
Yes.
that's like I mean, we were deep into a lot of things, and I love that, and I hope that people just are more willing and able to share their own opinions and know that even to get strongly convicted, you got to say it a lot of times. And sometimes you have to, grow your own belief in your things. And it took me a long time to get as to where I was, because I've always been like loud and spirited, but I was fairly misguided earlier in my life. But I think God gave me that spirit so that someday He'd be like, okay, Alex, like, here you go. Now you had your son, and he'll teach you everything you need to know about what your purpose is on this planet. And here we go. So I love this. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Before I'm gonna have the co-hosts go last before me. Well, I'll go last, but Buffy man over there,
Oh, just so complimentary. So
Dave. Your biceps look, I'd say, about a quarter inch bigger since last time you were here. So
trust me, these aren't natural. I got a pump in there. I keep pumping them throughout the episode. So
Lance Armstrong had that problem, and he admitted it, and he feels a lot lighter because of it. So
Okay.
oh wait,
All right.
different kind of pump.
different kind of pump. Yeah. So I just kind of sat back for the last little bit and just kind of listened, because if I don't know enough about a topic, why would I try to interject and be maybe ignorant or try to have, I guess, just have no knowledge on it? So just kind of sat back and just wanted to learn and take in different things, because there's a lot of stuff I don't know. Like I said, I walked away from the church for a long time there because it was force-fed down my throat as a kid. So then I just kind of walked away. So I just kind of sat back and enjoyed just listening to you talk about all your different beliefs and what you feel. And I just really appreciate being back on here a couple of times now. And I feel every time I leave here, I learn more, I know more. And I feel like it's going to help me grow, just not as a person, but even as a professional, because this is my job. I always try to learn. I always try to be a little bit better. And this is another way for me to do that. So I appreciate you guys having me on. So this is a lot of fun. And I'm going to subscribe to your channel there. So
Do you want to give one more shout out?
Is your wife going to be able to speak? Why are we being so rude?
No, you want to give your this is your little pipe. This is capitalism. here.
Random Talk Radio.
Random talk radio.
Let Sarah speak. You was kind of
All right, Sarah, you may speak. Because I told you to.
Yeah, because you gave permission.
Got him.
Okay. Well, fine. If you won't do a plug, I will. No, I forgot what it was. Random. What's the long word?
It's random things you need to know.
Random things you need to know.
That's
but
right.
Random radio.
At RRP Show.
There we go.
There you go. That's
See?
right.
There you go.
Boom. Type it in on YouTube. Find it.
This was very awesome. So final thoughts. I really like this. This is really fun. My final thoughts are a lot of the issues that we have with fads, with misinformation, with religion, goes back to a lot of what you talk about, Dana, with words. And so, and I think it was covered on one show previously that the span of the vocabulary from years or even just a year ago has significantly come down. And I feel like that is another reason why people are confused in regards to church, faith, religion, whatever you want to label it. And that's the other thing, is everyone wants a label on a diagnosis or whatever. It's a this. It's not a me. It's a this. It's a them. It's a push it off to something else. There's always an excuse. There's always a reason for why things aren't going well, or they are going well. And so us as humans, we need to learn to be more humble, admit when we're wrong. We need to learn to stand up and ask questions. The world, as COVID has revealed, a lot of people just go, okay, and they comply. They don't ask questions. They don't ruffle feathers. Therefore, I think that's why the church has gone as far as it's gone, where it's become a religion rather than it's supposed to be helping people within the church. I love the Amish community, where the ones that do, they literally travel to houses to do church. It's not in church. It is, as Travis had read before, church is the people, period. It's not a building. It's not a special place. It's not a wall. It's the people, period. So when you get humans who want to not be challenged, they want to think the same, they go by the same people. Therefore, that's where you get the fads, you get the cults, you get the religions and all of those things, and you get the prescriptions, and you get the, I don't want to listen to the Dr. Patrick because he says it wrong, and it's offensive, and I don't want to go to you because you do voodoo mama juju stuff, and it might challenge my thinking, and nobody wants to change. Everyone wants to believe grandma who believed their grandma, and nobody wants to admit they were wrong. No one wants to admit that they might be wrong, or that they might have offended somebody, they might have hurt somebody. So they just stand back. And I feel that is exactly why we are the way that we are in today, with religion, with fads, with people blame shifting and not taking responsibility. And we all need to be learning that if we are Christians, if we claim that we are born again and that we have the faith of Christ, then why are we not going in and flipping those tables in the churches and getting the money people out of there? Why are we not doing that? Why are we not asking the hard questions? Why are we not challenging, even though we might like each other? My husband and I have this. He's mentioned before on the show where I will say, why don't you go talk to Doc? Why don't you go talk to your dad? Why don't you go call whomever I can think of that might be, help him in a situation? Or my bestie over there, Erin, I will look at her and I will have hard conversations with her because it's the right thing to do. We are the church. We are supposed to be holding each other accountable. And no, you don't have to go to church. No, the church is not running the way that it should as a rule. We have an exception. Thank you, Jesus. But as a rule, most people are not saying anything. Most people are sheep. Most people are going along with the crowds, and nobody wants to ruffle any feathers. And if we are the church, then we need to start speaking, period.
Wonderful. Outstanding. Miss Dana?
Hey. Well, I kind of said this last week, but I mean, the way that we fix culture and we change things in the world just in general is just, it's one by one by one by one. And that's one-on-one conversations, or it's one conversation at a time, or it's what we're doing here and just creating the media, right? Because whenever you're talking to people, and I really hope that we did this today, because one of the goals of what we always want to do with talking about energy is bridging gaps for people. But when you're talking to people, you never know if you're talking to the black sheep of the family who has no idea that the way that they think is actually normal, or the person who is actually just finally ready to think in a different way, or the one who has been thinking one way their whole life and they thought that they were wrong, and now it turns out there's this whole secret world of people that they never knew about who are actually their best friends. You never know when you're talking to that person, and so having conversations like this, saying what you think, saying it with authority and conviction, saying it loudly, and just doing them one by one, and watering the seeds, planting the seeds, watering the seeds, the fertilizer, giving them sunshine is just, it's so important, because you never know who that one person is who will make or break the world, because it could be any one of us, and it could be anyone watching, and we need to just treat every conversation that way.
She's always so smart, isn't she? All right, my final thought, then we'll close and get out of here.
He used to final thoughts.
Will you forgive me?
No.
Are you getting him back because he didn't do a
Hold on. How about now?
Yeah, now you're forgiven.
All right.
Yeah. Well, so.
I owe you 10 push-ups.
He washed your sins away.
Yeah. You are blessed, my son. So I want to say this because you asked this earlier, so I'll say this in my closing. I grew up. My family is very different. So I have a Baptist parent. My father is Baptist. My mother is Nation of Islam Muslim. I mean, we're talking like deep Nation of Islam Muslim. And I went to Catholic school for the majority of my childhood. So I always questioned religion. Always. I wondered, why do we do the Passions and the Stations of the Cross for Easter in my Catholic school, but then when I go to black church, we don't do any of that. They don't even talk about that. Jesus he just died for your sins, baby. That's it. Go on and go get you some candy. That was it. No Passions of the Christ. You don't need to know the Stations of the Cross. And I was always wondering, I don't understand, why is it that if these two things are the same, why are they so different? My mother would always say to me, I don't really believe in Nation of Islam Muslim. And I'm like, well, I don't understand. She wanted to be a Buddhist. So for a while, I was studying, trying to understand what that was. And so all of these things changed my perspective and made me realize you need to know the synchronicity of these religions. How did they get to be what they are before you can even speak on any of this? And I started to learn that is more problematic than anything that's being said in the church. Was knowing that information made me the bad person. I became the pariah. I became the person that no one wanted to talk to. Matter of fact, I was called a devil worshiper. I said, well, I can't believe in the devil if I don't believe in God. So what the hell are you talking about? And people would get upset with me. And I would get all this stuff. Now it's a little bit different because I'm in my 40s and people feel like, well, he's just the insane man with the tin cap on the mountaintop. You know, he's just a crazy person. So everybody just thinks I'm crazy now. And even when I tell people, you know, you can go and watch my show and you can learn the information for yourself, I put the proof on the screen. They say, you know, I don't want to sit through all that, and you probably making up shit. And I'm like, I'm making up proof as well. But what I realize is this. It is very difficult with religion to get people to understand your perspective. And even with what we were talking about earlier with vibes and energy, it's difficult to get people to understand you all's perspective for the same reason it's difficult for people to understand where I'm coming from. Because they think that I don't know what I'm talking about. I haven't done enough research to educate them on history. You haven't done enough research to educate anyone on alternative medicine or even holistic medicine or even how to help people in different ways that doesn't require me to take a bunch of drugs. And it's just the same in your profession. People don't want to listen to you. Though I'm looking at you, I'm seeing that you got your body together. Man, that's probably because of whatever other reason I want to come up with. And I'm sure it's the same in your profession.
Well, if they don't listen to me, I give them a shot.
So, but I'm
then they listen.
But I'm pretty sure that there is in all of our fields of what we do, or even what we're passionate about. We probably know more about those things than most of the public out there. My buddy Kales knows a lot about basketball, knows a lot about construction. People challenge him on construction. How you gonna challenge a person who knows this information? Because it could be done like this. Then do it. And when that shit is shoddy and it messes up and you have to fix it in 20 years or in 10 days or whatever the case may be, don't call me, because I'm not coming back to fix your problem that you made worse. My father always felt that way. What I'm only saying all this to say is that I understand where everybody is coming from with all of this, right? And I was given the pushback on the religion stuff only because I have done so much research on this, so much. And I used to sit on these pastor calls, and they would say the most racist things about white people. And I would say, what part of Christianity is this? Did Jesus Christ say white people are devils? They said to me, yes. And I said, that's absurd. And you all have congregations? This is what is in the church? You're preaching racism. It's okay. White folks been doing it for years. Oh, so you're teaching vindictiveness. This is ridiculous. So you have a congregation full of African Americans that you're teaching to hate white people, and that's okay because white people did it first. And so it made me look at the church like it's not God, it's not Christ, it's not Allah, it's not Hashem, it's these people. And you don't need to come to church because, like you said before, church is community. The first churches were people who came together and said, I believe in this the same way you believe in this. We believe in the Son. Let's praise the Son together. And you know what? If we do it together, maybe God will hear us. Maybe if we praise Saturn the same way, God will hear us. Now, if we all listen to that pastor, if we all give him money, if we all go against you, if we all go against what you believe about men and women's relationships, if we all go against nutrition, then we're good. We don't need to listen to this nonsense. Listen to what I want to listen to. Listen to Steph Curry. Steph Curry knows better. Aisha Curry knows better. Beyonce knows better. It's ridiculous. So make sure you guys go and check out Random Radio. It is at YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, everywhere that you can find Random Radio. And I will get that episode about British Israelism out to you guys tomorrow. And there you go.
I'm programming you in my phone as soon as I leave here.
All right, my final thought. The biggest mistake I believe I made today was forgetting to give you your final thoughts. I owe you 10 push-ups for that one. Anyways, I wrote down, stand up. Don't be the silent majority. Be a sheepdog. No more silent majority. Yes, that was on there twice. There's a lot of people that are watching. I don't care how many are left because it's late, but we are having a good, healthy conversation as adults, and this is your opportunity to do it. I've been inviting people on here, and they'll be too scared to talk, or I don't have much to say. Bullshit. I hear it all the time. Don't be the silent majority. It's the silent majority that got us here. It really is. If you think I'm just going to sit and wait passively, no, you're part of the problem. Evil is going to prevail. And if we don't talk about things, we're going to get worse. So I'm going to challenge everybody that's watching, sign up. Come on here. We're not going to bite your head off. Learn something. Have conversation. Learn how to be a sheepdog, not a
Soy latte, pussified beta male.
Learn how to be a human being, an American. Learn how to talk to each other. Because you know what? A lot of things that were said today, I didn't necessarily agree with it. But I have respect for all these people. And you can have that too. We've lost that in the last couple of decades. We've lost jeepers. I was just telling my son, I said a word. He goes, isn't that a swear word? I'm like, no. And I'm sick and tired of the left always taking my dictionary. It's like I can't use half of it.
You got to get rid of them people. I'm telling you, man, we can round them up.
Yeah. So here's the deal. You know what? If you want to come on the show and talk. You know, if you think this is spicy, this is nothing. Wait till Doc gets back. He's crazy nuts. He's fun. It's awesome. It's a good talk, and it's a good way to challenge each other, to grow. I learned a lot about energies today. I love it. I learned a lot about history today. It's awesome. My wife is cute. That's awesome. You know, there's a lot of good things you can learn from this and coming on here. So sign up.
You didn't know that today? You didn't know that she was cute?
That's all I got was cute.
Well, the rest is for later. But all right. But honestly, if you
want
to
usually say smoking hot and all
Before
the
the
things.
CBD gummy, or whatever you're taking tonight.
just want to thank my wife for being on here on a scale of 1 to 100. She's easily 94.
Okay,
Tiny
thank you.
baby
Now
Jesus.
you
Okay.
can continue.
Okay, so reach out and look for outreach.
Outreach at thewellnessway.com. Make sure you are commenting, liking, and subscribing and sharing the show with
Yes.
everybody that you know. Next week we will be live in Hawaii, so definitely do not miss that one.
Yes, do not miss Hawaii. Thank you. I would have forgotten that.
Oh, I didn't get invited to come to Hawaii.
Next year.
Would you say that shit?
But you know what? I just really want to hammer home for whoever's watching. Make sure you are not just sitting here playing armchair quarterback. You come on here and talk. Learn from us. Learn from each other. We'll learn from you. So don't sit behind your computer, your phone, and be a weekend warrior. Come on in here, talk to us. Let's get back to the roots and let's communicate to each other. Let's be sheepdogs and not just sit on our butts and do nothing, because the silent majority is proving it does nothing. So thank you all for being here. I mean that sincerely. Thank you for putting up with me instead of having the very tenured and very polished Dr. Patrick here. He'll be back next week with us in Hawaii. I'll be wearing my two-piece. It's going to be sexy, let me tell you. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you online for watching. We will see you next week on I Disagree.